best for you if you at least go past or like phase one of the chapters. Yeah, it's just a personal thing. It's a personal thing. Your story is kind of the one who brought me here, and yeah, uh, the evil in the USB story. I forgot what it's
Oh,
called.
broken code. I
I didn't
Yeah,
realize
bro.
here.
Yeah, yeah. It was your story brought me here. You're the first one to ever late in the first chapter. You're the first one to ever lay eyes on the first chapter. I mean, Asconite is my go-to guy right now, but you're there too.
Oh, so are we waiting for the members or something? Be there, be square. Interesting. I know, be square. To be fair, it's bedtime for me now. So yeah.
Mm.
Well. What the fuck?
There we go. I
What the
can
fuck?
listen to the stories and play Secret Laboratory.
So I was streaming until in the other channel. I was streaming while I was writing. It's the one where Vedo wants to switch to. Holy shit. The next part. Oh my god. How do I write confidence?
Ursula, everyone is joining. I was gonna ask if you are able to stream the AO3 page while you read it.
Oh yeah, sure.
Uh,
Wait, not me.
Ursula. Narrator.
let's see. Let's see.
Ping me in chat when I am needed to narrate.
Oh, we don't need any narrators today,
Oh,
actually.
really?
Yeah, because
So-
the two stories we have are chapter stories that were submitted by people, and they submitted narrators. I mean, unless
Okay.
Ava's narrator is unavailable, but that is at least an hour from now, and you said you're sleeping.
and there.
Meows has declared in announcements, be there or be square, because I know that I'll be pretty squared. Why does this say that there's a limit of 25 people in this server channel? What?
Did you hit the VC channel limit?
I don't know. It says 9 out of 25. That's weird. I mean, we're probably not passing 25. That would be pretty insane if we did, but that's just weird that showed up. Okay.
Well, if we need to pass 25, we probably would have to move to, like, regulars table.
Oh, yeah, it might be because this person's sharing their screen. That didn't happen before. I don't think we're hitting 25. Last night, there were 4 different voice calls going on, and we reached 22. Which was crazy.
Don't be a negative Nancy. Believe in the community.
I'm not.
I haven't heard of someone using that in a while. Negative Nancy. Like the last time I heard it was like more than 10 years ago.
Sometimes I forget the.
Potential showdown tourney. I think I might lose.
Showdown.
Sometimes I forget that there's just everyone named Pogger now. Kiara is a Pogger. Sugar.
Poggers.
Yeah. Everyone is just named that, and it's just combining into my head.
Lucasen wants more poggers, by the way.
I am not the. I'm not going to do that.
This is being recorded, by the way.
Yes.
Hello, YouTube.
Well, yes. Has the recording started already?
Yes.
Wonder susakan
Hello, YouTube.
Should I start?
Yeah, you can start now. If other people are gonna join, they can join and show up.
Okay.
You want to read the summary first for people?
Right. This is the new summary because I forgot who said it, but they said that my summary is shit. So I made a new one.
I need full screen.
Okay, let's see. Summary. The summary for this. The Kestrel is supposed to be an average salvage ship, and Annie, Cerber, and Sprillian were a ragtag bunch of salvagers. But when a chance encounter with the rebellion traders drops a sensitive rebellion data and an advanced warship AI into their hand, they're suddenly pulled into a massive war that spanned the entire galaxy. With the opportunity of a lifetime in their hand and a huge rebel fleet breathing down their necks, the Kestrel crew embarks on an epic journey to deliver the AI to the front line. You can see the inspired notes here. There are two, since I'm taking this not from my own lore. I'm truly borrowing stuff from everywhere. So, yeah, how about we start now?
Let's go. Clap, clap,
Chapter
clap.
1, first contact. A loud blast echoed through the empty halls of the spaceship, signaling another hull breach. The sole inhabitant of the ship tried his best to stay focused on the steering. His usually clean jumpsuit was marked with multiple burn marks, scars of the many fires he had to personally put out. The reading glasses that usually sits on his face was nowhere in sight. Fiddle, you look like shit. Go to the med bay. Uh, a voice echoed through the cockpit. It came from the computer the man, Fiddle, had in front of him. Afraid I can't do that, Evil. I'm a little busy at the moment. Another blast. And another blast rattled the ship. Besides, looks like the med is gone. Vidal shifts his focus towards the screen. Displayed there, along with the ship's diagnostics, was the form of a little girl, no older than 12. The girl wore an unbuttoned black cardigan tied by a large blood red bow tie with a dark green shirt underneath. The color of her knee-length pleated skirt was nearly indistinguishable from the cardigan itself, giving her outfit the look of a flowing dress instead of a three-piece attire. Her light brown hair flowed down to the back her back with sides tied into twin tails by identical blood red ribbons. A heart-shaped ornament was clipped to the hair on her left side of her face, serving no particular purpose other than the aesthetics. Her bright red eyes glared onto Fiddle, even though the damage sensor meant she couldn't actually see him. The rigger is falling apart! Evil screamed. Let's stop. If we surrender now, maybe we can still. It's not over till it's over, Evil. Vidal interrupted Evil, his voice stern with a hint of concern for the girl. But listen, Evil, listen, Evil. We still have a bit more fuel in the tank. One last jump, and we're in Federation territory. From there on, I can find a Federation ship and give you to them. They'll be interested in the contents of a black box. What about you? Get ready. We're jumping. Don't you dare point the question. Evil's question was cut off by the harsh sound of the damaged and overworked faster than light drive. And scene transition. Sir, the trader made another FTL jump. A man clad in orange uniform called out, his eyes fixed upon the screen in front of him, from which a dot had just disappeared. Trace the beacon's signature and prepare the fleet for another synchronized jump. Another man replied, his face stern as he addressed the other man. Furrows on his face, combined with a full beard and short trimmed walnut colored hair, gave off the air of a decorated war veteran. Although their uniform was the same orange color, the gray shoulder guards and the large metal MFK emblem proudly affixed on the chest of his uniform signified him as someone of higher position. Sir! The, the rebel soldier started to input the numbers to the calculations, but before he finished, another voice intruded upon the conversation. Sir, I have triangulated the traitor's location. The form of girl appeared on the ship in front of the front-facing window, which also doubles as a screen. The girl looked the exact same as Evil, but she wore a beige cardigan and cyan skirt instead. Her hair was tied in twin tails with bright red ribbons and clear blue eyes stared curiously. She would be the picture of innocence, were it not for the words she had just said. Great job, Nero. Admiral Vance, one of the great leaders of the rebel fleet, replied, I hope all these jumping didn't put too much strain on you. It's fine, sir. It is what my father designed me to do. Although Nero's voice had been even so far, her voice cracked a bit at the mention of father. Worry not, Nero. We will definitely avenge your father. Vance reassured him. Yes! Nero replied with a cheerful yet subdued tone, heedless of the ominous smile the rebel leader had on his face. The rebels' flagship broadcasted the beacon coordinates, and then, in precise union, the entire fleet entered FTL. And that's the first scene done. Okay, let's see. You know, I probably should have sound effects, but I don't know how to do it right now.
Get somebody with soundboard to do that.
Is there like an FTL soundboard I can use somewhere?
Yeah, if you're on an FTL server, probably.
Okay. Well, let's just continue like this for the time being. A loud hiss of the door's hydraulic system accompanied the woman in the spacesuit as she emerged from the airlock, a mountain of various scraps behind her. She pulled the suit's helmet off her head, revealing the long pink hair that flowed down to her back. A pair of cute fox-like ears jutted out from her head. She pushed a button on her spacesuit. Immediately, the nanite that made up the suit peeled off her body and made their way to the storage container, revealing a skin-tight jumpsuit that did nothing to hide the curves of her body. She grabbed the dark blue jacket from the coat rack, one size too large for her body, and put it on. Emblazoned on the back of the jacket was a faded Galactic Federation symbol. Welcome back, Annie. Impressive member of scrap you got there. A short teenage girl entered the room and greeted Annie. Her rounded glasses made her eyes appear bigger, giving a cutesy charm and a spark of intelligence to her appearance. Her long blonde hair was tied to twin tails by a hair clip that looked like a pair of floppy dog ears. Her jumpsuit had many sealed pockets, some large enough to fit an entire wrench. Thanks, Cerber. We got quite a haul today. I'll, I'll sift through it like usual. You go rest. Will do. Annie replied. She was about to move to her quarters when the intercom brought her to life. Hey, guys, you might want to come see this. A voice resounded over the intercom. What is it, Fillion? Annie pouted. She had wanted to rest from all the spacewalking she just did. Guys, really, just come here. The ship just emerged from FTL. Hearing that, Annie and Cerber looked at each other before slowly making their way to the cockpit. For a cruiser class, the Crester was a surprisingly compact ship. Thus, it took little time for the two of them to reach the cockpit. The door opened to the cramped cockpit that could only reasonably fit two people. However, Cerber's small frame could comfortably fit into a small nook just this side, allowing Annie to stand uninhibited. Sitting on the pilot seat was a young girl. Not as young as Cerber seemed to be, but definitely younger than Annie. Her short hair was silvery white with a couple of cat ears jutting out. Unlike the other two, Philin didn't wear a jumpsuit. Instead, her attire consisted of a black sleeveless turtleneck with baggy, long sleeve pink shirt over it, and knee-length black skirt with mother's t-shirts. Check that out, Philin said, pointing out the window. Outside, a ship floated lifelessly through the void. Its hull was thoroughly wrecked, but miraculously, it still held together. Those were rebel markings. Annie's voice quivered. What do you think is there? Hey, let's check it out. I'll fly as close. Phil, Phillian cheerfully added. Are you sure it's a rebel ship? What if they jump us? Server pointed out. I mean, the thrusters aren't thrusting. I don't think anyone is Indian there even poses a threat anymore. Well, Phillian assured Server. What if they're just out of fuel? What if they're just out of fuel, though? Server shot back. Well, then that doubled the region. We should check it out, right? I don't think a ship this damaged has communications up anyways. I'm sure they have enough sense to help from Federation scum, was it? With that retort, Cerber stood down and Philin maneuvered the Kestrel right beside the stricken ship. Annie and Cerber, both in their spacesuits, spacewalked out of the airlock toward the rebel ship, while Philin focused on matching speed with it. Both girls entered through the damaged airlock. After working together to pry the heavy steel door open, both of them split up. I'll search the left, Annie. You go to the right, Cerber suggested, and Annie nodded in response. Truthfully, neither of them had salvaged from a ship so intact before. The silent halls of the spaceship gave off an eerie atmosphere. Numerous burn marks and hull breaches told a story of vicious battles. Annie made her way to the oxygen system, which she found surprisingly intact. She then opened another door, one that led to the cockpit, and she gasped. Sitting in a corner of the cockpit was a badly wounded man. His hair was disheveled and matted with blood. Grasped in his hand was an orange-black striped box, almost the size of his torso. His breath was shallow, and his eyes were unfocused. Hey, are you okay? Annie sprang into action. She identified the numerous wounds the man had and began applying pressure to the most critical-looking one. Server, over here! Bring the medkit! Annie shouted, her voice ringing down the hall. But before Cerber showed up, she felt something pressed against her. As she looked back, the man was practically shoving the box onto her. Freeze! Please, bring two. The man struggled to speak. Shh! Please, stay calm, sir. Everything will be fine. I won't let you die. Annie said in the calmest tone she could manage, and yet a note of worry stuck into her sentence, for the man's injuries didn't seem survivable. That's no use. I'm already dead. The man weakly shook his head. I need you to take this, please. The man's eyes were filled with burning resolve, the kind only seen among those who had accepted their fate. Annie, I brought the bed. Dear God. Cerber walked into the scene, holding a Kestrel's first aid kit. Cerber, good timing! Please take over. I have to bring something to the ship. Annie shouted. You want me to take over in the middle? Cerber looked visibly taken aback. My legs are longer, so I'll be back sooner. And you know more about first aid anyways. I'm counting on you. And with that, Annie took off, barely hearing Cerber's grunt of affirmation. Annie ran like the wind while holding on to the box. Her mind raced as much as her legs. A delirious mix of thought and emotion addled her mind, with a single thought king among them. Never again. She didn't know who the man was. For all she knew, he could be dangerous, but the circumstances were too similar to that day for her to care. When she reached the Kestrel's airlock, she practically threw the thing, uncaring whether the contents were fragile or not. She didn't waste any time making her way back to the cockpit. On the way, she slipped on one of the twisted metal scraps that littered the ship's floor. She winced as her foot landed on her side instead of the sole, giving off a nasty sign. No matter, the medbay will heal that. She forced her injured ankle to run. She practically burst through the door and fixed her eyes upon the pair. Server, the man, how is... I'm sorry, Annie. The server's voice was quiet, speaking volumes of what happened. Huh? He's already dead. Annie stopped in her tracks, but before she was able to process her feeling, a screeching scream come from the communication. Don't care! Villian's booming voice came out over the communicator in such volume that the other two girls nearly went deaf. Ow, my ears! What is it, Villian? Annie complained. The reactor's busted! The ship's gonna explode! The moment Server heard the word busted, she grabbed Annie's hand and started to drag her out. Annie, come on. But the man... Annie looked back at the bleeding, battered corpse. Leave him. He's dead anyways. If we try to bring his corpse, we might not make it in time. Server's tone was final. Annie took one last look at the man's corpse. I'm sorry. Tears welling up in her eyes. Annie followed Server out of the ship. Once they got on, Fillion put max power onto the engine, barely escaping the explosion. Woo! Now that's an adventure and a half. Who was it that thought going into that ship was a good idea? Fillion said with a chuckle. Her only response was a deadpan stare of her companions. Anyway, I saw you bringing something aboard, Annie. What was it? I'm not sure, to be honest. That man practically pushed this onto me, Annie recalled, staring sorrowfully at the box on the floor. There was a man? Fillion cocked her head. A corpse of one. He's practically dead already, Annie bitterly recalled. If only I had been a bit faster, then perhaps... Hey, no one's blaming you, girl. Fillion tried to cheer Annie up. Unfortunately, yes, but at least you got out alive. Hearing the carefree tone of her friend, Annie couldn't help but smile. Her mood immediately got better. You're really just a fountain of optimism, aren't you, Fillion? Is this a black box? The warm moment was interrupted by Server, who began examining the box. It was a box half Server size with an orange black stripe across the top part and reddish orange everywhere else. The box may have survived some kind of fire, if the burn marks were any indication. Uh, Server, your eyes okay, buddy? The box orange. I mean, there's some black, I guess. Fillion said with a concerned look. No, I mean the ship's black box. One that records and keeps flight data safe if this ship is ever destroyed. Cerberus explained. There might be some critical data in here. Is that why that man is so desperate to save it? You want to plug it in? Philin suggested. Is that a good idea? Mysterious man just offloaded this. It could be a virus or something. Cerber voiced her doubts. It's a rebel ship. Who knows? It might have something that can turn the war around. Philin offered. Whatever this is, that man prioritized it over his own life. Annie added. Okay. Okay, got me curious too. Let's hope it's nothing too harmful, Cerber sighed. With a heave, Annie brought the box closer to the ship's computer. After some searching, Cerber found an access cable and plugged the box into the computer. Immediately after being plugged in, a large amount of data poured onto the system, as if a dam had just burst. It's immediately running something, Cerber explained. I'll try to... But before Cerber was able to do anything, something popped onto this computer screen. It was the form of a little girl wearing all black. She gently opened her eyes. Where am I? Evil said, confused. And that's the end of chapter 1. Hello? Is my voice coming through? Okay, I guess no one's no one's saying anything. So, next chapter, I guess. Let's see, and here we go. Chapter 2, The AI and the Salvagers. Hmm. What? Where am I? Evil's voice rang about the cockpit. Her black dress-like outfit gently swayed to the rhythm of her body, and her bright red eyes regarded each one of the Kestrel's crew member. Confusion quickly being replaced by caution. Who are you guys? Who are you guys supposed to be? You don't look like rebels. Evil cautiously asked. It talked. It talked. Fillion exclaimed. Hey, who are you calling it? I'm a she. Evil, feeling offended, let loose a remark. She talked. Fillion exclaimed with correct pronouns this time. Excuse me. Annie raised her hand. "Oh, what are you exactly?" Silence engulfed the Kestrel once again as Evil digested the question. Slowly, her face twisted into a grin. Oh, so, oh, ho? So you don't know who I am? Very well. Let me tell you. Evil let out a chuckle. You must be some sort of artificial. You must be some sort of artificial intelligence. Am I right? Am I right? Cerber interjected. You guessed right. My name is Evil. I am an advanced, state-of-the-art super warship AI. Uh, uh, Evil avatar did a grandiose pose, seemingly trying to emphasize her superiority, but it ended up resembling something out of an old Saturday morning cartoon. I was created by the legendary AI programmer Vito, and Evil's voice suddenly faltered. It was for the purpose of. Oh, hold on. What the hell is happening? Accompanied with panic mumbling, Evil's eyes flashed binary codes before they suddenly went light. 50% corrupted? How did this happen? Who did this in my memory? Oh, well, you see, we found your box in bad shape. Cerberus stated as she knelt next to the box. There were burn marks all over it. Also, this dent over here looks pretty bad. Fillion glanced at Annie, who looked away. The dent was from the time she threw the box, not knowing what was in it. I'm sorry we're handled so roughly. Save your breath. I don't need your sympathy. Even with 50% of my memory gone, I still retain all my functionality. Evil spoke up, seemingly to calm herself more than anything else. So, what did you say you were? Advanced something something warship AI? Fillion changed the subject. You heard me right. An advanced state-of-the-art warship AI. Put me in any ship with weapons and watch as I turn ships into scraps. Actually, why don't I just demonstrate my power? Eva eagerly puffed her chest. No thanks, we're good actually. Annie tried to defuse the situation. Unfortunately, that seemed to rile Evil up. Ha! Clearly you underestimate me. Watch me raise the efficiency of this bit by 50%. Alright, integrating. Binary codes flashed on Evil's eyes once again. Several warning sounds sound out before almost immediately silence. And done. Now I get. Wait, what kind of rinky-dink ship is this? Is this a Kestrel? Um, First off, that was rude. Second off, what did you just do? Third off, what's wrong with the Kestrel? Annie pouted, her ears twitched a bit. Isn't the Kestrel's model super outdated? Did you pilfer this thing from the garbage disposal? Evil shouted, ignoring the first two questions. Hey, I'll have you know that I refitted everyone with love and care. Don't insult my baby like that. Cerberus' voice, which rarely reached above normal speaking volume, went full tilt. Both her hands balled into fist. If Evil, seemingly unbothered, ran another scan. I admit, it does look better now that I look at it again. But that idiot Fiddle, did he just offload me to the first ship he found? Evil half, clearly mad. Where is that man anyway? Even if you're pursuit, at least have a decency to say goodbye. Are you really that desperate to get rid of me? Um, Evil, Miss Evil, can I call you that? Sure, whatever. What's up? Evil pointed at Annie. This Fiddle guy, he wouldn't happen to have be a skinny guy with short black hair. Yep, that's the one. Did you meet him? Tell me your, tell me where he's gone. I'm going to give him an earful from trying to abandon. He's dead. Annie said, her eyes downcast. Evil froze mid-sentence. Literally. The on-screen officer that had been so animated before immediately ceased all movement. What did you say? Evil began taking the time to check whether or not something was wrong with her voice recognition. That man that you were here with, he's... Annie continued, her tone grim. Hey, stop that. I've been told I can be annoying at times, but that's a cruel thing to say just to get back at me. Evil stuttered. Her words were only met with unkind cast silence of 3 crew members. Say something, hey! When we found him, he's in critical condition. And again, we couldn't say... I told you, stop joking! Tears began to form at the edge of the model side. Fiddle, that idiot, he couldn't be... Evil hiccup. He could be... Light stops filled the room. Fiddle, you promised me, you promised... I can't remember what the promise, but I know you broke it! Evil let out an indignant shout, but the tone was familiar to the other 3 in the room. It was the cry of an orphan who lost their parent to the war. Poor girl. Annie said. The other 2 nodded in agreement. You know, she might not be a real girl, but this reaction is super real. She might be... she must be like top tier AI or something. Fillion nodded. I know, right? You're looking at a pinnacle of AI technology right here. As if by the flick of a switch, Evil suddenly snapped out of the depressive mood she wallowed in. Wow, that morning period went by quick, Cerber noted. Morning can come later. Now that Phil is dead, that means I'm the only one who can do this. Evil crossed her arms, seemingly more determined than ever. Speaking of which, I need to get to Admiral Tully in the front lines, and you 3 are going to help me get there. Think of as payment for my services. Wait, whoa. The front line, like the front line, the one where ships blow each other up? Fillion's eyes went wide. What other front line could I possibly be referring to? And Evil tilted her head. Why did you even think we'll go with you? Cerberus' expression soured. It doesn't have to be us. We can give you to another ship this worm well armed. Annie interjected. Nah, this is also concerns you guys. Evil wagged her finger. All of you are aligned with the Federation, right? Soon enough, the rebel flagship will arrive. You're dead if you caught the waving Federation flag. Sorry, the rebel what now? It was now Annie's turn to tilt her head. The rebel flagship. Hold on. Oh, please don't be corrupted. Got it! Here, feast your eyes! With a triumphant cry, Evil pulled up an image of a blueprint. The eyes of the 3 Crestrel's crew went white. Whoa, that ship looks dope! Pavilion gave the simplest reply. What is that? 4 artillery platform, 4 layers of shield, 3 FTL engines? How much resource did they sink into this monstrosity? Cerber gave a far more informed comment. This is the rebel flagship? Annie's voice was soft as she took in the blueprint in front of her. The ship portrayed in the blueprint was an impressive wonder of technology. A compact brute with enough firepower to blast through an entire space station on its own, yet still small enough to be classified as a cruiser. The flagship was wide, giving the impression of the ship having wings, much like the eagle portrayed on the Rebellion's emblem. 4 weapon platforms jutted out from the front side, respectively bearing ion weaponry, burst laser, rocket launcher, and beam weapons. Many systems litter the ship, so much so that the onboard reactor couldn't possibly power all of them at the same time. Wings of the Rebellion. That is what the project name of the ship. An apt name, if I do say so myself. People gave her thoughts. The fleet admiral of the rebel fleet is on the ship, as does most of its elite crew. If it's destroyed, the rebellion's wings will be clipped. They're painting a huge target on their back, Sherwood said. The problem now is destroying the flagship itself. Looking at the blueprint, it doesn't seem possible for just any regular ship. Oh, I wouldn't worry about that. You already have the solution after all. Evil flashed a confident smile. Huh? Really? Where? What? Where? What is it? Fillion said, confused. The other two didn't seem to know the solution either. Evil's smile faltered. It's me! I'm the solution! You know, the greatest the greatest warship AI ever? Evil let out an indignant shout. This time with no undertones. All I need is a proper body to fight them in. I see. That's why you need us to deliver it to the front. You can probably take over a decent fighter ship there. Comprehension done on server. Correct. And as for the people who delivered me, you guys will practically be war heroes. Evil made a grandiose declaration. It's a long way to the front, Fillion said, her face forming as well. But I do like the sound of Fillion, war hero of the Federation. A war hero, huh? Annie fell silent. Seeing this, Cerber patted her on the shoulder. The two of them locked eyes and Cerber nodded. Annie didn't show any reaction for a few seconds. Then her shoulder relaxed as she started to smile. Unfortunately, their little moment was interrupted by a blaring warning from the sensors. Fillion checked the warning. Multiple ships inbound, she stated. Those would be the forward scouts of the rebel fleet, Evil glowered. Time's up, bozos. Either you escort me or we all get killed by rebels. Pick your choice. Well, whether or not we accept, let's get out of here first. Annie decided. Fillion set up the FTL. Any jump beacon's fine. On it, let's see, where is... Fillion's eyes swept to the screen, searching for a suitable beacon to jump through. However, not a second later, Evil face failed to swim. Ah! Too slow! Here, allow me! Evil's eyes flashed and Kestrel's course was step out to the jump beacon the nearest to it. Hey, what are you? Fillion was shocked. Saving our behind. Now grab onto something. We're jumping into that nebula for cover. The Kestrel's FTL drive charged up and the engine flared, ready for an FTL jump. Wait, that's directly into the plasma storm! Fillion interjected, but it was too late to stop Evil. The world blurred into a tunnel of light as the Kestrel entered the FTL. Great, now we can change course. Fillion crossed her arms. We'll be fine. Trust me, Evil confidently said. All the while, the Kestrel continued on its path towards the jump beacon. By the way, what did you say? A plasma stone? What is that? Oh, you'll see when we get there. A mischievous smile crept up the Fillion's face. Meanwhile, the other two looked away. And that's the end of chapter 2. And they're off. Alright, is that can you guys hear that? Alright, I've good news. I found a soundboard. I don't know if I'll use it. Um, I don't know if I'll actually use it. But yeah. Um, I think let's go to the next chapter. After that, I need to refill my bottle. Chapter 2: The Duel in the Nebula. After a few minutes of traveling After a few minutes of traveling in the FTL tunnel, the Kestrel arrived at the jump beacon. The cockpit was immediately illuminated by the lightning that jumped between two large clumps of cosmic dust. The Kestrel had jumped into an ongoing plasma storm. The charged particle immediately caused the sensors to go haywire. Wah! I'm blind. Did something go wrong? Evil immediately panicked as her one way of perceiving the world was severely disrupted. Are we in the middle of a plasma storm? Oh, you said plasma storm. Comprehension dawned on Eva as she rethought back the Filian's word just before the jump. Pinnacle of AI technology, my ass. Now our reactor can only output half power. Now our reactor can only output half power. Filian leaned forward on her seat, looking very much like a gangster boss addressing her underling that just got beaten up for something they said. Besides, regular nebulae also crippled the sensor. What's your business getting surprised? I forgot how scary it is, said Nebula. Evil voiced her honest thought. How did you know it was a plasma storm anyways? I didn't say any indication. She then deflected out of embarrassment, accidentally pointing her fingers towards Annie instead of Filian. We passed through here not long before. You didn't even check the FTL log, didn't you? Filian didn't say it directly, but the nasty smile on her face clearly said a mocking, "You dumbass." Sadly, Evil was not able to see it clearly. Alrighty, guys, calm down. Let's focus on getting out of here. Annie chimed in, stepping in between Filian and the ship computer that displayed Evil's avatar. Filian looked up to Annie and then immediately returned to her default sitting position. Leaning back on her seat, one hand behind the head and the other weakly attached to the ship's control stick. Server pulled out the tablet. On the screen were listed the diagnostic for the entirety of Kestrel's hulls and systems, down to the most minute detail. With a few taps, she began to manage the output of the Kestrel's reactor. Filium, I'm rerouting the Cassidy-1's power from shields to the engines. Hop into FTL as soon as it's charged. Roger that. Filian replied with thumbs up, still leaning still leaning back and without looking at Cerber. Dog ears! Wait! Don't turn the shield off yet. Evil suddenly interjected. What is it now? Cerber lets out an exasperated sigh as her eyes slowly pant onto the fit screen. She pulls her finger from the shield icon on her tablet. Also, could you please not call me Dog Ears? My name is Cerber. Yeah, nice name, Dog Ears. Evil said dismissively, then cleared her throat for dramatic effect. My sensor might be crippled, but I can't claim to be a top-tier AI if something like this hinders me. I can confidently say that we aren't alone here. Evil proudly announced. What on earth are you... What are you on about now? Cerberus' retort was caught off by a bright light that slammed into the cockpit. The shield shattered as it took the brunt of the hit. That was a heavy laser! We're being shot at! Filian exclaimed, both her hands immediately planted on the control stick. Tracing the path of the laser, the offender was revealed. A rebel fighter ship, probably a forward scout, had been hiding among the fog-like nebulae. Everyone, battle stations! Annie shouted. She and Cerber immediately exited the cockpit. Cerber ran all the way to the engine room, while Annie stopped at the room housing the weapons control system. She immediately manned the weapon control terminal. What the... So, however, once Annie arrived, she discovered that the Burst Laser 2, one of the Kestrel's trusted weapons, had already activated and was warming up. I took the liberty of warming it up for you. Evil's face appeared on the bottom corner of the targeting computer. I could fire them myself, but I can't see that well right now, so you have to aim for me. Thank you? Annie took her post and began to take aim. Aim here, that's where the shield system is. Uh, a picture of the opponent's ship was shown on the screen. A red circle was drawn on the right aft. How did you even know that? Annie replied as her trained hand gently guided the burst laser, aiming vertical to the part that evil indicated. I'm a rebellion-made AI. Of course I have the blueprint for almost all their ships. Evil proudly revealed, correcting her sentence in the middle to count for lost data. The rebel ship fired another heavy laser, but the Kestrel's shield regenerated before it managed to hit, blocking the laser and shattering once again. The Kestrel's burst laser finished charging, calculating the ship's trajectory, and he fired. Three laser shots slammed into the rebel fighter. The first shattered their shield, while the two behind the first smashed onto the fighter's shield system. The two ships nearly crashed into each other as the rebel ship flew past the castle. Great job! Next, the weapon system's right here. Evil indicated another part. Seeing that the rebel shield did not regenerate, and he decided to trust Evil. The rebel fighter pulled a reversal. It pointed its nose at the casserole and revealed its Lido missile. A rocket followed a cursed trajectory before hitting the casserole square in the med bay. Stupid shield-piercing missiles! Fillion cursed. How did it work anyways? The shield blocked asteroids just fine. Shield to nobody in particular. Both her hands held tightly to the control stick, but with the main engines crippled, she couldn't fly the casserole. The best she could do was to point the nose to give Annie a better angle for her shots. There! Annie exclaimed. The burst lasers roared to life once again, spitting lasers at the rebel ship as it flew past the nearly immobile casserole. 3 shots hit the rebel fighter's weapon system just before the rebel shield system was repaired. Direct hit on the weapon system! Evil announced. Give it all you got, fox ears! Please don't call me that. My name is Annie. Annie shouted as the burst laser 2 finished charging once again. A laser bolt shattered the fighter's recently regenerated shield, and 2 laser bolts shot the rebel engine down before they could once again disappear into the nebula. One more shot! The Artemis missile charges faster, so use it! Evil flailed her hands animatedly. The burst laser 2 went dead, and instead the Kestrel's Artemis missile burst into motion, soon firing a rocket straight into the ship's cockpit. The rocket blew up the front part of the ship, and soon the rest of the ship exploded also. Okay, woohoo! Baby! No. Yeah? Di dalam situ. Ya, di situ. Woohoo! Baby! No, that's what I call a fight. Yeah. Evil threw her arms up in celebration. Great job, everyone! Annie's voice came from the screen. The video of her and Cerberus' face appeared on the cockpit's split screen. Evil positioned her avatar beside Fillion's face. On Annie's face was a gentle smile. However, on Cerberus was a frown and a sharp gaze. So, what exactly did you do, oh great warship AI? Cerberus chimed in, immediately bursting the celebration atmosphere. Hey, I warmed up the burst laser before Foster's even got the console and helped her aim it. I would have done more if this stupid shit could support it. Evil threw her arms wide in complaint. Don't call her stupid! Uh, Cerberus' face became red as she once again hit her limit. Hey, guys! And he tried to mediate. Calm down. Let's take a deep breath and... Hey, guys, is it just me or the air's getting kind of stale? William pointed out, at which point, everyone noticed it's getting hard to breathe. What? Why is the oxygen system off? I was sure I kept it on. Cerberus looked down on her tablet. Oh, that was me, Evil said with a smug grin. Had to turn it off to warm up the burst laser. Are you crazy? We need that to live! Cerber lashed out. Her arm slammed under the desk and grabbed the console in front of her. As if doing so would allow her to reach the core of Evil's being and strangle whatever counts as the AI's neck. And yet, Evil only smiled. You'll be fine. It takes a little while for organic beings to die from suffocation. Here, I'll turn it back on right now. Thank you for your consideration, but please, don't touch Casri One's power system without my permission ever again. Cerber released the split screen. Her voice simmered with cold rage. She bent down and picked up the tablet she dropped, turned it around, and checked for damage, and began tapping. Fillion, I've turned on the engines and the oxygen system. Jump when you're ready. I'll go repair the med bay. With that, she pulled out the wrench from one of her many pockets and sharply left with a cold expression. Nobody said a word. Was Doggears always a terrifying person? Evil addressed Annie. The shocked expression still frozen on her face. Only to some people. Annie explained. Her expression shadowed behind her hair. What did I do? Evil replied, her shock seeming to have faded away. I have a list. I'll say it one by one. Annie lifted her head, revealing a sweet smile. Nah, that sounds boring. Evil was about to turn away when she noticed Annie get closer to Fitzrin. You will listen. Annie's smile never faltered, but her tone revealed exactly how she felt. Yes, ma'am. Evil, intimidated by the tone, spent the next 15 minutes getting lectured. Hold on. Break. How much longer? Evil moaned from dissatisfaction. She had figured out how to move her avatar in such a way that it appeared as if she was lying down. The Castro had jumped into another beacon to discover a small convoy of refugees. They wanted some supplies that the Castro was carrying in exchange for improving the Castro's reactor. Philly was coordinating the transfer of supplies, and Cerber was supervising the mechanic to make sure they didn't do anything untoward. That left Annie was stuck babysitting Evil. Please calm down, Miss Evil. Annie softly chided her. Upgrading a reactor is serious business. It's going to take a little time. Besides, it's better to have extra power, right? I can work the reactor just fine. Energy management is my forte. I can switch things up like a flash. Is only the stupid dog here slapped me. Evil complained, but her movement, combined with the after lying down, made her look ridiculous. She soon returned it to the right side up. Why do I have to pass permission anyways? Would it be more efficient if I'm able to turn things on and off when needed? You turned off the oxygen system. Annie pointed out. Her ear started to twitch. It's the correct thing to do, though. We don't have enough power to power the burst laser otherwise. Evil lashed out. You still haven't forgiven me for that? Evil, listen to me. Annie's voice went cold, ears up straight. Evil's avatar was visibly flinched. We're going to the front lines at your behest. We could have just left you floating in space somewhere, but no. This information can literally end the war. That's why we're doing this. And he spat out the monologue like it was bitter medicine. Evil couldn't help but listen. However, the chances of us making there are low. There is a real chance we die along the way from pirates or rebel or who knows what. Therefore, we would appreciate it if you can refrain from making that chance any lower. And he continued. Evil could see hints of tears starting to form. Okay, get it, I'm sorry. Evil cracked under the weight of Annie's assault. Annie sighed. Her agitated ears relaxed and flopped down to her side. I know your heart is in the right place. Do AIs have those anyways? What I'm saying is, I know you're trying to help, but just Think of us accidentally needing mixed meat sacks, will you? Evil sensor picked up her warm tone. It is the tone that a mother would use to comfort her upset child. I will. I will. Evil nodded. The reactor's good to go. Server's voice came on the line. Transfer complete and FTL's ready. Fillion voice faltered. Right, let's go. And he said, with that, the Kestrel made another jump. Hold on, I think I actually have to refill my uh, bottle. Getting a little bit sore. Uh, you guys can like speak to yourself for a moment. Actually,
Eva needs a narrator. Anybody willing?
okay, I'm back. Where were we?
Welcome back.
I just realized that we passed the 1 hour mark.
No, we started like 15 minutes later. So you can keep going. Also, we're still trying to find a narrator for Ava because Ava's narrator is not available now.
Mm.
So yeah, you can keep going.
Okay. The journey through FTL tunnel lasted only a few minutes. Nobody said a word during the journey. Soon, the star-filled space returned to view. Immediately, after the Kestrel finished jumping, the ship's sensor lit up. 2 ships, 3 o'clock, Evil warned. Then she pulled out the image from outside the cameras. An unidentified ship was being chased by another ship. Purple markings on the pursuing ship's hull made their identity clear. Pirates. And he shuddered. Hey, the pirates are hailing us. I'll put it up. Phil pulled the call up. Displayed on the monitor was a middle-aged man with an uncapped appearance. Damn it, we weren't expecting company. Hey, you are they. Stay right there, all right? If you'll let do this, we'll give you a cut. The Kestrel's crew went silent, stunned by the offer. Wow, that was pathetic. Except for Eva, apparently. Her eyes already lit up with binary codes. So we're stopping this, right? Cerber, max power to the weapons! And his confusion melted into white-hot anger. Already done. But both the burst laser and the Artemis missile perked up as the Cerber put all the reactor's extra power into them. Well, we're just gonna have to blow the guys off. With that, the pirate cut off the communication and turned to face the castle. Evil laughed out loud as the binary faded from her eyes. This loser can't even. This loser can't even power his engine and weapons at the same time. Here, look at this. That's so funny. A partial schematic for the enemy ship was displayed on the cargo computer, outlining the general location of the ship's systems. As Evil said, the ship's reactor was meant for a much smaller ship and cannot provide enough power for the full system. Foxeers, hey, you think they got scam or something? Foxeers? The Evil not noticed sudden silence from its fox-haired girl. Annie didn't respond. Her attention was solely on the pirate ship. The Kestrel got the first shot. The Artemis missile slammed onto the weapon, disabling both the pirate weapons, but not before the pirate fired a laser shot in pointless retaliation. The laser shattered the Kestrel's shield, but otherwise did very little. With the weapon system crippled, Annie turned her attention to the shield system. The pirates put power from their weapon to the engines as they started their retreat. However, before they got anywhere, 3 laser shots disabled the pirate's shield completely. Meanwhile, the Kestrel's Artemis missile spat out another projectile, hitting the pirate's engine room and partially disabling it. Immediately after, the pirate's face showed up on the screen again. Okay, fine, just take over it. Please don't blow us up. Choking vacuum, pirate scum. And he severed the communication without a second thought. Evil let out a strangled noise. Any she was seeing now was completely different from the peacemaker girl she had known her as. Annie's eyes were wide and bloodshot, only seeing the target in front of her. Her movement had lost all the gentleness she displayed before, instead replaced by a rigid form of a predator about to pounce. Another salvo of both the Crestor weapons shot the pirates up completely. The pirate managed to get out of incoming missiles' way, but it was too slow to dodge the 3 laser shots. Debris was strewn about as the pirate ship exploded. The final screams of the pirate were unheard in the cold vacuum of space. As the sound of battle died down, an uncomfortable silence descended upon the castle. Evil felt like she had seen a side of Annie she shouldn't have seen. But before anyone on the ship dared to break the silence, the transmission came. It turned out that the ship the pirate had pursued lingered around. Thank you for the aid. A jovial man perked up. Whew, that could have gone bad right there. Wasn't expecting them to be so tenacious. Hey there, sir. Noticing that Annie wasn't in the right headspace to start a conversation, Fillion took the lead. Why were you getting chased? By the look of it, they weren't that threatening. Well, yes, you see. As Fillion continued to chatter, Evil watched Annie through the weapon control room camera. Annie's hand was still on the weapon control, seemingly reluctant to let it go. Her whole body trembled, trying to hold back sobs. And Cerber entered the room from the nearby door. Seeing the state her friend was in, Annie shut her Cerber shut her mouth. Instead, she silently met her way to her side. In one motion, she slipped to her side and both her arms wrapped around Annie's stomach. Annie, who had just noticed her presence, stiffened from surprise. A few seconds passed until one of Annie's arms returned to Cerber's hug. They remained like that for some time, merely enjoying each other's existence. Cerber! Hey! Cerber! Philin shouted to the intercom. The guy's a merchant and he's agreed to sell to us. Come here and help me haggle. Cerber growled in annoyance. One of her arms slammed into the answer intercom while the other is still attached to Annie. Do it yourself, Philly. I have to. Cerber's protest was silenced by a pat on the head. Cerberus craned her neck upward towards Annie. Go help, Phillian. I'll be fine. Her movement were still subdued. Annie's body no longer trembled. A faint smile had found its way towards her previously gloomy face. You sure? Promise. Annie replied. With that, Cerber relented. She unlatched herself from Annie's body and made her way back towards the airlock. Also, Annie, do you mind to check if the storage and see what else we might need? Billion added. Right, I'll do that. Need some distraction anyways, she thought to herself. There was a pause, but then Fillion added, Hey, you sure you're okay, right? I'll manage. Then I'll treat you to something nice later. We'll have to see what's in the fridge, though. A cold sweat ran down Annie's back as another unpleasant experience came to the forefront of her mind. Well, no, it's fine. You don't have to. Annie said way too quickly. I mean, if you say so. Fillion replied. With that, the Kestrel docked with the merchant ship. While Fillion and Cerbero had a back and forth with the merchant, Annie did as she was asked to do and tallied up the Kestrel's remaining supply. Hey, Annie, back there, you. And Evil's voice come from the intercom. Ah, right. Right. So, sorry you have to see that. That Evil. Annie flashed a smile. Perhaps to reassure Evil if she was watching. The Kestrel Setter wasn't that good. But Evil thought that smile felt strange. I just really don't like people like that. Annie's eyes stared at some faraway point as if trying to see a scene from way past the horizon. Oh, right, right, I see. The aura of seclusion that radiated from Annie prevented her from pursuing further. So instead, Eva looked for another source, and she knew someone who seemed like she would run her mouth. Hey, Foxeers number 2, Evil called as soon as Fillion returned to the ship. Are you talking about me? Fillion's ears perked up as Evil appeared on the heads of the plane. Yeah, who else? Evil didn't get to finish her sentence before Fillion suddenly exploded in anger. Why does everyone make that mistake? Fillion screeched. I have cat ears! Why does everyone think I have fox ears? Oh, Evil was taken aback by the display of aggressiveness. Fillion very much looked like a cat whose territory had just been trespassed. It's cat ears then! Evil changed the animal she used, but apparently still went with the ears for her nicknames. Sure, not the worst thing I've been called, Fillion responded, seemingly okay with the nickname. What's up? Annie back there, she seemed different. See, Evil stammered, trying to find the right words. You know anything about that? Oh, I don't actually know a lot about that. Never ask. Fillion nonchalantly revealed. Besides, what makes you think I would tell you even if I had known? Oh, so you don't. Oh, so you don't know? Who should I ask then? Evil pivoted to avoid answering the question. Her eyes latched onto the nearby wall and saw the Fillion. Cerberus been Annie's friend long before I met both of them. You should ask her. Thankfully, Fillion decided to not pursue the topic. Oh, that will be difficult, Evil replied. The biting quote of Cerberus' denouncement still fresh on her memory. Yes, Cerberus seemed to hate you, maybe because you trashed her work. Girl's a little sensitive about that, Fillion bluntly said. Gave me a good scolding when I first started flying this hunk of junk. Fillion smiled a little from nostalgia, then suddenly flinched as she realized something. Don't tell her I said that. I won't, but only because you seem cool. Evil promised. Score! An AI thought I'm cool! Fillion threw both her hands in the air, genuinely excited. I should have said anything. Evil sighed in exasperation, but deep down, she appreciated the energy Fillion gave off. Well, would you look at that? First and second battle. This is only the first couple of jumps. There will be many more to come.
That might be a good point to stop for today, and we can continue next time or another time if you'd like.
Sure. If I can do it, if I have the time, I'll submit the further chapters
All right.
of this thing.
Cool. Yeah, really, just anybody. If you have a story and a narrator, you have to tell me that you have a narrator. Then, yeah, just submit it and we will schedule you. Whoever wants. And we're still figuring out what time frame and, the best methods of doing this are. So far, it's looking like this time frame is pretty good. A lot of people are showing up for this, so...
Yeah, I can see that.
Axo, are you flip flopping again? No, just left because we told him he doesn't have to read anymore.
Uh,
Right, end stream.
Ava with the picture with no text, just response. But it's right now. What if you put that bubbliness into your reading? Isn't it better to be happy than to be upset? Okay, but if you knew it was gonna be early, why did you say you would read? I was surprised when I heard that the person Ava got to read was you. I was like, but Axo's West Coast. It's gonna be like early in the morning, and I was surprised. So I like. It's my day. It's all right. It's pretty busy. I have a lot going on that I didn't realize was going to be happening today. Right now we're doing this. This is why I wanted people to make sure they had a narrator ready already, because we had this issue on Wednesday when I didn't prepare it. It's just like, hey, who wants to do it? This is why I want people to make sure they know who's narrating, and that person's okay with it. It works out that when the person who submits it is also the person who's going to narrate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ursula, by the way. I know some people
Yeah.
aren't comfortable narrating their own story, especially, like, in particular, their own story, though.
I was a bit proud of this one, so that's why I also want to narrate it.
Yeah, you did prepare, Ava. I'm not blaming you. I wouldn't have put you in as a slot for today if you had just said, here's a story, can you figure it out for me?
Okay, B can narrate it.
It's a little bit, though. Like, how long from now is a little bit? It's not 11 p.m. everywhere in Asia. It's 11 p.m. some places in Asia. 30 minutes? Oh, I mean, that could be fine if Ursula wants to read another chapter.
You know, I think I might just.
Yeah, you could always read another chapter, and then if you're able to be back, and you're willing to read it, then we could do that. It's Ava's story. You get to save Ava. You get to be the hero.
Yeah. Yeah. Since we got a time extension, looks like my story's back on the menu, boys.
Yes, get to read another chapter.
Yeah. So Shad, I believe you haven't read this one, or maybe read half of it.
Yeah, I think I read half of this one.
Yeah. Okay. Then let me read you the other half. Then.
I mean, don't start halfway through. Read the.
Yeah.
Yeah, click you.
All right.
KLHK. You haven't read a lot of fics yet, right? There's a lot to read, so it's more likely you haven't read something than you have read something. Heck, I have read like close to 90. You've only read like 7. Okay, then yeah, the odds of you having read a story are small. I've read like close to 90, and that's still way less than half of what exists. So
okay. So chapter 4.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. You guys are good. You can see that.
Yep.
Okay, then here we go. Annie was happy. Her father had called her. She ran up to him with a big smile. Her father presented his hand, big and calloused from his time in the military. As always, Annie placed her own hand on his. Her small, soft hand that knew no despair. With both of them holding hands, they began to walk together. Annie looked far up their father's face. People always said that he has a handsome face, the rugged charm of a veteran, and he couldn't help but agree with those people. She tried not to mind the lack of warmth from her father's hands, nor did she acknowledge the half-open phrase devoid of emotion. She was fine. Everything was fine. She was fine. She was fine. She was nothing's wrong. What? I'm kidding. Yeah. You killed him. You killed my daughter. You killed him because I'm not. Annie woke up with a gasp, her breathing erratic. She could feel her heart thump in her chest furiously, as if it was trying to free itself from her ribcage. Feeling the panic attack that assaulted her, Annie bit hard on her lips, not hard enough to draw blood, but enough to snap herself out. She glanced around and she realized she was in her quarters in the casserole. Above her was the bed Cerber usually sleeps in, and both girls' belongings were strewn about from the impromptu party Cerber threw last night to cheer her up. And it took a few seconds to control her breath. She then took the handkerchief Cerber handed her and wiped away her cold sweat. Thank you, sir. Burr? Annie did a double take. Cerber currently wasn't sleeping on the bed above hers. Cerber was standing right beside her bed, eyes full of worry. Cerber, you're awake? Annie hurriedly tried to step upwards, but before she could do that, Cerber gently pressed her back down. Correction, I got woken up. You were tossing and turning pretty loudly, so I got concerned. Cerber's voice was soft. Sorry. Don't worry about it. I'm happy that I could be a friend in need. Annie smiled as she heard Cerber say that. Even as the years had molded Cerber into a meticulous mechanic, this trait of hers never really changed. It's oddly comforting thought to an oddly comforting thought to Annie, knowing that no matter how much the world changed and how much it tried to change someone in turn, some part of them will always still be them. I think we still have some milk in the fridge. If you want, I can warm it up for you. Cerber offered. Yeah, I think I would appreciate that. Cerber nodded and sauntered out of the room. Annie watched as a small, retreating figure, uh, at the small retreating figure until she vanished around a corner. Cerber made her way to the ship's kitchen. Well, less of a kitchen and more a closet with the essential to make food compacted into every square inch. Cerber hummed softly as she opened the cooler box and pulled out a fresh pack of milk. She pulled out a pan and poured the milk in, a smile on her face. She put the pan on the stove and turned it on. Hey, dog, is Cerber? As Cerber started to warm the milk, she heard this voice over the intercom. Her humming stopped, and her smile faded away. Oh, so you can just call me Cerber. Cerber addressed Evil. You calling my name like that must mean you want something. Make it quick. I need to get this to Annie. Did something happen to Annie with the pirates? Evil took her chance, ignoring the barb reply. Why do you need to know? Cerber fired the second volley. Her voice and mannerism were overtly hostile, but Evil could tell it lacked the usual figure. Annie seemed to hate pirates. Evil soldiered on, her voice determined. That last fight, when the pirates called again, I was sure Annie would have let them go. She was just, I don't know, a nice girl. Cerberus stayed silent, taking in Evil's words. Little bubbles started to poke out of the milk surface. So, I was shocked when she told the pirate to go die. Then I thought maybe there was a reason she doesn't like pirates, so I must know the reason so I can Evil explained her reasoning. The milk boiled, bubbled, and started to boil over the sauce. Oh, alright, stop there. Cerberus turned the stove off before more boiled over, and poured the milk into a wild bowl to let it cool a little. A little bit of milk spilled onto the table. It's clear you It's clear you're worried about Annie, and I can appreciate that, but Sir Cerberus stared pointedly at one of the cameras hidden into the part of the Cretrol's wall, the one Evil was the most likely looking at her from. It's clear you don't understand Annie. Evil was stunned by the sudden direct stare. What? What happened was none of your business. I'm sure Annie herself would appreciate it if we'd leave it well alone. With that, Cerberus grabbed the bowl of milk and swiftly made an exit. The intercom stayed silent. Having failed, Evil directed her attention outside. The Kestrel floated silently through space, completely at the mercy of the universe around it. The Kestrel hopped out of FTL, looking worse for wear. Numerous burn marks marred the white hue of the Kestrel hull. A recently patched hull breach could be seen on its underside. That one was rough. Villian panted as though she had just run a marathon, as she never left the pilot's seat. Who knew a damn rebel ship could be so zippy? She dragged her face outwards to see the face of her friends on the split screen. They didn't look much better. Fortunately, we managed to destroy them. Annie commented, bawling on opening her hand in an effort to lessen the soreness on her fingers. But who knows how many of them are left? Cerber coughed and hacked. Her face wasn't even on the screen, only her hand holding a wedge. The sensor array she wheezed, is good to go. Met me next. After her last word, the call from the sensor room ended. Hey, a settlement nearby is hailing us, Philia noted. I'll patch it for you guys, Evil said in an upset tone. Today was yet another step in Evil's personal growth, for she had discovered how to make her avatar pout at will. I was supposed to be a warship AI, but no. A little dog ears doesn't want me messing up with ship power, so here I am managing the comms instead. She grumbled mockingly. After a few minutes, the call finally connected. Hello there, travelers. This is Amanda of Mondes. A woman's face appeared on the fit screen. Your ship seemed outfitted for combat. Care for a bit of mercenary work? What do you guys think? Annie addressed the crew. Guess everyone, it's damaged, but it should be fine. Cerber called from the medbay terminal, which he had just finished repairing. Her ragged breath had started to stabilize. Annie straightened her posture as he took over the video call. This is Annie of Federation Castrel VT83R. We'll hear your request. Thank God. You're the third one we hailed, and I don't think they will last much longer. Amanda sighed and continued. A space dock one jump away is under assault from the rebels. Now, that dock isn't exactly above board. Three Kestrel crew glanced at each other before nodding in agreement. The space dock was likely involved in trade of illegal goods. But it's very important for our trade. We'll pay every bit of scrap and FTL fuel we have if we promise to save them. Desperation crept into the voice. We're running low on FTL fuel cells. Annie nodded at Cerber to the fifth grade, then turned her attention back to Amanda. How many ships can we expect? 2, maybe 3, but the station itself has anti-ship battery. Annie put her hand on her chin in contemplation. If what Amanda said was true, they're in for quite a fight. Cerber, how's the hull looking? Caster 1 is at 50% hull integrity. We can't take a beating from 3 ships at once. Then, we'll just have to hope the ASB keep the other 2 busy. Or, we could just not go there. Evil suddenly cut into the conversation. Why are you even taking this job? Because they promised to give us fuel cells to us? And he offered. We can get fuel cells from salvaging any old ship. They literally didn't offer us anything we can get ourselves. Evil launched her rebuttal. Actually, Philian interrupted, her hand in front of her mouth, hiding a devious smile on her face. We're rescuing a space dock, right? Yeah? Evil replied, trying to understand the reasons Philian brought it up. You think we can guilt-trip them into repairing our hull? You know, free charge. The Kestrel went silent for a few seconds, but before long, Annie hailed the station again. Mondes will take your offer with one condition. After we'll find of the rebels, the dock will repair our ship free of charge. I hear the Kestrel, but free of charge is a bit. I understand your reluctance, but however, as you can see, our ship's been damaged. Annie pushed further. We must consider our own survival. If free of charge is a bit much. No, you're right. We're asking a lot of you, Amanda replied. I suppose it's only fair. Very well, we shall notify the station. Annie was flabbergasted. In truth, she didn't really think they would relent, so she prepared a compromise, and yet, it turned out they did. Oh, okay then. Thank you. Kestrel over. Annie stammered as the communication ended. A few seconds later, the promised crab and FTL was teleported on the Kestrel. Well, that was easy. Evil spoke up. Good idea, cat ears. You are welcome. Started to sit up straight in preparation for the coming bell. I already set up the FTL. We can jump anytime. Cerber, are all systems ready to go? Oh. All green. She's ready for battle. So Cerber gave her a thumbs up. Evil? May I rely on expertise again? Ha! As if you need to ask me. Point me at a ship and I'll crush it. The Evil gave a wide grin, raring to go. Great! Annie looked onwards. Your survival is, quite literally, at stake. Philian, bring us in. I gotcha. With a flick of a button, the Kestrel entered FTL. Anticipation built up among the Kestrel crew as they get closer and closer to the battlefield. Fillion gripped the Kestrel's control stick, ready to make any sudden adjustment. Annie's hand filled with the weapon control, eyes glued to the targeting monitor. The server had hurried back onto the engine room and manned the terminal, preparing to crank every ounce of power she could from the reactor to the engines. Evil was ready on the sensor, confident she could edge any activity that entered her overwatch. And so, the Kestrel emerged from the silence of FTL travel into the view of an explosive battle. As indicated, some kind of outpost on a desolate moon was under attack. A wreck of little rebel fighter floated past the Kestrel, but it seemed the two outer ships is still harassing the dock. A rigger and a fighter, both in rebel color, fired upon the outpost shielding as the deadly thrum of the ASB projectile littered the space around them. Whoa! Fillion rolled the Kestrel to the right, dodging a wild ASB shot. They're really going at it. It's dangerous to intervene right now. With that kind of firing, those wild shots could hit us. Evil cautiously suggested. One ASB shot. One ASB shot hit the rebel rigger. Almost immediately, it burst into flames. However, the fighter retaliated with their beam weapon. The outpost shielding wasn't enough to completely block it, damaging the station's shield module. Without the shield to impede it, the beam traced its path toward unopposed to the planetary anti-ship battery, destroying it. The ship turned to the outpost, readying another shot. Hey, Annie, Fillion called to Annie, her voice calm but carried doubt. We can't dodge beam weapons. That's a halberd beam, Server informed. And you can't block that with just one layer of shield. Let's pull back. It's not worth it. Annie gritted her teeth. Both her companion had made great points. Facing a halberd beam means they are guaranteed to take damage, and with the Kestrel already damaged, a prolonged fight could turn dreadfully really quickly. However, amidst the voices of doubt, one expressed their optimism. I see. So, all we have to do is blow them up before they blow us all up. Piece of cake! Evil perked up. Her avatar's head jerkily moved from one side to another. One side to another, mimicking the motion of neck cracking. Get ready, we're going in. Seeing Evil's confidence, Annie regained hers. Are you sure? Cerber asked, still having doubts. We promise, Cerber. I'm not in the habit of breaking promises. You never change, don't you? Cerber sighed, then grabbed her toolbox. Then leave the repairs to me. And that right there is exactly why I'm on this ship. Fillion tightened her grip under control. Count me in! As the rebel was about to fire, Annie held the rebel ship. Rebel vessel! This is Federation Kestrel VTA-3R. Surrender now and you shall be spared. The rebel ship lost their lock on the settlement. Instead, the halberd beam started locking onto the Kestrel. And that is a fight. Annie fired the Artemis missile, intending to hit the rebel's weapon control, but the rebel rolled to the right at the last moment, causing the missile to miss. Before Annie managed to aim burst laser, the halberd beam fired. The powerful energy beam struck the Kestrel shield. While it did mitigate some of the beam's destructive power, some of the beams still made it into the Kestrel's hull. It proceeded to rip into the ship's shield system, cut across an empty room, and made it into the weapon control system. Annie screamed as she felt the heat of the halberd beam still sear her. She clutched her left arm, burned from the heat. Not long after, Cerber burst into the door. Annie! Cerber shouted. She supported Annie before she could fall. Are you okay? I'll take you to the med bay. Hold on, before that. Annie reached for the weapon control terminal. I need to set up the auto fire. Annie, go to the med bay. Evil's voice rang through the room. Evil? Both girls were surprised at the third voice. The Artemis missile is still active. I can take the shot myself. Go to the fucking med bay. Evil's voice was harsh. Okay, I'm trusting you, Evil. Annie nodded, and with that, Server escorted Annie to the med bay. Alright, heroes. Alright, Gillar's bucket, just you and me. Evil addressed the Kestrel. The still functioning Artemis missile tracked its target and fired. However, the ship rolled again, dodging another hit. Oh, that's not good. The halberd beam struck Kestrel again. With a shield to impede the beam, it wreaked havoc on the medbay. Annie! Evil screeched. The beam continued its path to the weapon control system, threatening to shut it down completely. But before it managed to do that, the Kestrel took a hard right, and the beam missed the weapon room. You're welcome, now shoot it already! Fillion yelled from the cockpit. Her voice was heard even from without the intercom. Hold on, Balloon, 25%. We can't take another shot. Cerber called from his shield system, which he had just repaired, but even with the shield, another shot would spell doom for the Kestrel. Annie! Evil's focus, however, was somewhere else. No, this can't be happening, not again! Evil, I'm fine! Annie's sound reached the Kestrel's sensors. Please, focus, you can do it! Annie's voice was calm and encouraging. I trust you. Evil froze, but soon she calmed down. Annie was right. It was all on her now to deliver them the victory. And of course I'm going to do it. I'm the greatest warship AI ever, damn it! Evil psyched herself up. Hey, you zippy bastard! I noticed something from all my previous shots. Once again, Evil shot another missile. The rebel ship began its roll, trying to dodge it. You like dodging to the right, don't you? However, Evil had anticipated that and shot the missile slightly to the right. The missile ripped into the rebel's weapon system. The halberd beam about to fire suddenly lost all its charge and died down. Here, have another! And another! Evil repeatedly shot the rebel ship, first targeting its engine and then its shield. Then the weapon system once more to keep it down. Buckling under the barrage, the rebel tried to charge its FTL drive, but another shot from the Artemis missile blasted the cockpit. With that final shot, its reactor exploded, scattering the rebel ship in all directions. Silence. We did it! We did it! We're alive! Fillion was the first to celebrate. Evil! Annie barreled through the door. Her arm hadn't healed fully yet, but it was still in a better condition than before. You saved us! Thank you! Annie looped her arm around the weapon control terminal, hugging it. Not my best work, but I did my job. Evil Avatar had a white, haughty smile on her face. So, what do you have to say about that, dog ears? I have to admit, I'm impressed. Cerber voiced her thoughts. Since you saved our life, I'll forgive you for carrying Katriwano rust bucket. Cerber adjusted her glasses. You heard that? The verbal exploit was a bit too much for Evil in her prideful mode, so she immediately switched to furious mode. Me and Katriwan are one. I can hear anything she hears. That doesn't even make sense! Guys, the outpost is hailing us! Fillion put a stop to the brewing fiasco by pointing out the hill temp. Damn. I'll patch us in. Evil, back her to her role as glorified router of the casserole, connected the call. My, you are all such lovely madams. A mustache man wearing an extravagant suit with a top hat holding a cane appeared on the fifth screen. He immediately said, come? Oh, how rude of me. My name is Jones. You could say I'm the proprietor of this establishment. Oh, thank you? Annie answered, unsure on how to proceed with such an animated man. I heard that the dear madams want their casserole fixed up. Jason opened his arm well. Well, after that display, we'll be fooled to pass up a chance to repair flying history like this one. Thank you for having us. Where should we dock? Annie asked. Already confused, she just decided to roll with him. Please dock at Pier number 5. We'll fix it up so good you'll think it's brand new. A map was shown on the Kestrel's pilot screen. Pier 5 highlighted. Of course, if dear madams would like to buy a little extra, all you need to do is to prepare a suitable amount of scrap. Scrap? Wait, you trade scrap for service? Evil interjected. She looked at Annie through the weapon control terminal. Yeah, it's somewhat common practice in spaces where Federation credits can't be used. Annie explained. The spaceship components are surprisingly rugged and multi-purpose, so the chances of you open a fuse box or something, you usually find the things you need. So we began just bartering the scrap for servicing goods. Cerber added. I'll make note of that. Cerber crammed the knowledge into her memory. Does that mean if we can neutralize the ship without destroying it, we can get more stuff? That's the idea, but it's surprisingly hard to do that. The most reliable way is to board the ship using teleporters, they added. But that has its own set of problems. As the conversation continued, the Kestrel drifted down to Pier 5. The Kestrel landed with some difficulty, but ultimately without damage. The 3 Kestrel crew came out of the ship, leaving Evil still inside. But connected to the communicator, the 3 of them slid up. Cerber stayed behind to oversee the repairs. Philip immediately charged over to the cafe to get some food, and Annie approached Jones, who was standing not far from the Kestrel. Welcome to our humble store, Jones said, voice loud. If there's something you want to buy, why don't be shy and just ask? Thank you, Jones. What is it that you sell here? Annie probed. You can't find things here that you can't find in any other station. We have FTL fuel and other supplies for your journey. If you're in need of explosive, we do have stock of missiles. Oh, you simply must try Outrun's cooking. It's simply divine. And Jason began advertising the various services on the space dock. I see. However, I heard that you stock things more special than that. Her mind recalled what Amanda had said about the station not being above board. Ah, I see you are well informed. Please follow me. Jason started walking to the next pier over, with Annie following closely behind. Eventually, they came across numerous wrecks of ships. In fact, she could see the wreck of her rebel fighter the Kestrel had just dispatched from being brought in. These right here are our premium stock, Jason began. We've acquired these goods from nearby space. You'd be surprised how many we could find. I see. Good salvage blow up. I see. Good salvage from blown out ships. Annie pursed her mouth. It seems like this dock was selling stuff from pirates, and illegal salvagers. Yes, ma'am, though I would prefer the term recycled. We can assure Madam on the quality on each item, for we have thoroughly inspected it ourselves. Jason flashed his best salesman smile. Would Madame like a new weapon for the ship? We also have a selection of drones available. Oh, perhaps a new system for the ship? Annie crossed her arms and closed her eyes, trying to decide when Cerber suddenly came online. Annie, we have a sector of power for the reactor. Maybe we could get a new system for Crest 3-1. Good idea, Cerber. Although Annie felt a bit iffy with buying illegally salvaged system, she couldn't deny that the extra layer of security would save the Crystal in the long run. Jason, could you show us what the ship system you have? You're welcome to peruse, and of course, more than welcome to buy. Jason led Annie to the dock where the more intact ships were lined up. Perhaps Madame would like a drone control system? Those engines make them the best. Jason pointed to a strange-looking ship. It was blocky and messy, almost seemingly like junk held together by duct-taped in hope. It was the unmistakable sign of the ugly, yet functional, NG cruiser. Or perhaps a crew teleporter? Straight from a Mantis ship. NG make, of course. The ship on the Jason's right was shaped like a head of a trident. It was a Mantis fighter. an object of fear of many space travelers. Oh, or maybe this one. With a flourish, he revealed the final ship. Annie gasped. The final ship has an unusual shape, with its curved hull and no sharp edges. It somewhat looks like three ships combined into one. There's no mistaking it. A Zoltan warship, rested in the hangar. It's rare that we get to salvage a Zoltan ship. Jason has a large grin on his face as he looked at the ship, both his hand outstretched in presentation. Unfortunately, we can get our hands on their precious Zoltan shield, but however, the hacking system on this one is especially quality. A hacking system? Evil suddenly chimed suddenly. Her avatar has a gleeful gleam in her eyes. Can we get it? Do we need that? Any questioned Evil. Yeah, although she can see her avatar right now, her voice does sound excited. Normally, I would say no since you have me, but stupid dog ears won't let me do anything. Evil complained loudly. Annie could also hear Cerberus' discontent growl to the communicator. With the hacking system, I can actually do things. It's not like we're using those drone parts for anything else. Annie weighed her option. A hacking system would indeed solve a lot of problems, they would say. But that would depend on Evil's own skill, which is something she had yet to see. Moreover, the fact that it was Zoltan origin felt like it could be trouble down the line. For a few seconds, it was silent. I want it! I want it! I want it! Out of options, Evil resorted to throwing a tantrum. Using her avatar's limited movement, she jerked her arms violently to all sides. Tears formed on her eyes as she tried to contort Avatar's face into the saddest possible expression. Although Annie was oblivious on what her avatar was doing, the volume and tone of Evil's voice conveyed her thoughts clearly enough. Okay, we'll take the hacking system. Annie relented. She shook her head from exasperation, but on her face was a warm smile. Evil could be so childlike sometimes, she thought. A nice choice, ma'am. Once we receive the scraps, we'll install it promptly. After a brief negotiation, the installation of the hacking system began. As usual, Cerber was supervising any and all modification to her Castry 1. Hundreds of repair drones worked on the Kestrel's damaged hull, slowly opening it up and connecting it to the hacking system to the Kestrel's main computer, using wires hidden within the Kestrel walls. Evil was humming and wiggling so much as her avatar lets her, clearly impatient to start using her new toy. Hey, Evil, can we talk? Seeing that Evil is in a good mood, Annie approached her. Sure! Evil replied cheerfully. Sorry if it's just a bit awkward, but how's your relationship with your father? 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 What do you mean? Oh. Like a balloon being popped by an extra pointy needle, Evil's avatar visibly deflated. Vidal. Sorry, never mind. Huh? Why? You seem hurt, so I don't want anything. So I don't want to intrude. No, it's fine. Evil's avatar looked away. I've been trying to recover my corrupted memories, but it's not that easy. I don't think some of them are recoverable, she began. So, I don't really remember Vidal. You two weren't close? Annie was surprised to hear that. Evil seemed really broken up about his death, so she had thought the two of them were close. I don't know. I remember him being there a lot every time I wake up, but most of it was either training or a test. Evil continued. But, well, he was always there for me. Her voice quivered. And now he won't be. Ever again. Evil's voice cracked. Tears started to form at the edges of her avatar's eyes. Her body wiggled, seemingly trying to simulate trembling. Annie grimaced. To let lose someone who had always been there was the feeling that Annie knew well. But that was all. A hint of tears, a crack on her voice, some hiccups, a hint of tears, a crack of her voice, some hiccups. The tears formed on her avatar's eyes, but they would never fall. Her body wiggled before it could not tremble. The cracks and hiccups of her voice could never be close enough to the sound made by a real human. Perhaps Annie would never know the depths of evil sorrow, for her nature as an AI would prevent her from expressing it. As much as Annie wanted to hug Evil, pat her head and let her cry into her shoulder, Annie could never do those, for Evil had nobody to receive them. So, for a while, two of them just sat together. Annie merely listened as Evil continued her sobs, trying to understand the intricacies that would never be voiced. When was the last time you remember seeing him? Annie finally spoke after some time. That's an odd question. Evil sounded frail. Well, it's something that interests me. Annie pushed. She needed to know. It was on a rebel raker we stole. We were bombarded by the rebel fleet. Evil seemed to struggle to remember the events. Perhaps it was one of her damaged memories. I told him to go to the net bay, but he refused, even though I could have taken over for him. Evil recounted. Even though I could have protected him. Through it all, Annie listened patiently. I think he said something. The sensor on the rigger was damaged, so I can hear him clearly, but Evil finally stopped sobbing. I think he said, I'm sorry, she recalled, a tiny chuckle escaped her. What a bold bastard he is. I see, Annie softly said, her gaze once again distant, as if she had derived her own meaning from Evil's answer. Hey, you know what? I think I feel better now. A lot better, actually. Evil's voice had suddenly raged. Did you do something? I did do. I didn't do much. If anything, you're the resilient one, Evil. Annie merely chuckled. She didn't know if it's because she's an AI or what, but Evil seemed to be able to get over bad news quite quickly. Of course, I can't call myself top tier AI if I can't bounce back from this. Evil's avatar pushed her hand on her hip and lets out a prideful shout. All right, once the hacking module is installed, I'm gonna mess those rebels up. Annie smiled. Where this journey will take her and her friends, she doesn't know. But surely, it will be a journey for a lifetime. Sorry, that ran a little bit long.
Oh, that was a pretty long chapter. It was a good chapter, though.
Yeah.
You talked a long time. You seem like you're starting to have some troubles speaking.
Yep. I wanted to be fast because Ava has her story.
Yeah, I haven't been hearing from Ava. Ava's not responding to pings. B is here. They're asking if Ava's story has swearing in it. I am surprised that it's more than just me who, has to consider that in regards to reading. I just didn't really think there'd be many other people like that, but there has been other people like that.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
I have no problem with swearing because I know it's not me.
Oh, you mean because you're reading someone else's? Yeah, that makes it. It's like the difference of, well, are you okay with quoting somebody saying it when you're quoting somebody else's whatever?
Yeah.
Where is
Why
Ava?
is there
Like
a
Ava
lot of-
shouldn't Ava be here for the reading of?
She said to add
Yeah.
her.
I think they're
She
busy
said
right
to add
now.
them.
They said they had to do something earlier.
Yeah, they so yeah I think they
Well,
said to add them whenever it's time for her story.
We did.
Hmm.
You could always just like so if you screen share your thing, right? You don't have to read that word. It'll just be on the video and people can see. You can just use a replacement or just whatever. But I also don't know if Ava's even has that. So like.
Okay.
See you later. Oh, see you later.
See you later.
That was my dad leaving somewhere and saying goodbye.
Okay.
Me and my brother have to go help pile all my grandma's junk into 3 cars or whatever, and just to get it out of there so they can spray the whole place. It's a big mess that apparently I just found out about this morning, so that's why I'm like, if need be. Well, like I'm just like, why isn't Ava here? Are we supposed to just start reading Ava's story without Ava? Because everybody's here waiting, right? For another story. We're all muted, waiting to hear. I guess we can just start.
I know I actually just made a big joke. This freaking guy.
Yeah, I said it.
I'm gonna crash out.
I hope I haven't lost my touch with the more recent chapters, and because I kind of brought up a lot of really good scenes early on.
Oh, no, I'm sure it's fine. Okay, so if you are fine with starting, I'm sure Ava's fine. Ava's probably fine with it. I mean, it's recorded anyways.
I'm going to mute my mic and enjoy the story.
We'll wait like 5 more minutes.
Okay, it's up to you. You guys are the ones doing it. I have to. Basically, as soon as me and my brother are ready to go, and my brother is busy in the afternoon, so it's like, please come whenever you can. The text from my mother says.
Then. It's fine.
So I will have to leave. I will leave the recording going. It's not like I was doing anything other than sitting here listening and chatting. Yeah, so I will leave this here and be here as I can be. But
Alrighty.
It's up to you guys. I'm sure you can do fine. You have your audience.
All right. Roll us in. Bring us to the world of Ava's story.
Oh, right, but I can't leave until I open up the screen share of the story. Whoever's reading, it's helpful if you screen share it, so then everyone can follow along that way, and the video can follow along. So if B is reading, then we need B to, if possible, share it, and if not possible, then someone else to do that and scroll through as it goes.
Wait, Duckman, how much swearing and how bad is the swearing?
Oh, did you check? Oh, Duckman checked.
I haven't checked Ava's yet. 5 words? How bad are they? Are they like baby words, or are they words I can't say? Dang. 5. Well, I'm sure I could just do cutoff with those words. I guess I don't know. If they can't narrate, then I'll do it. Hi, Ava.
Hey, Mom wants us to help, right? Before you go games berries.
Okay, I asked her when, and asked her, like, I was asking for information to figure out what I'm going to do with my time and my day, and she just didn't really give it. She said she doesn't know.
Oh,
And
what?
I haven't heard anything. Unless I got a text that I didn't notice. Which I did.
Okay. Cause yeah, she was texting me.
Okay, she texted me.
Let me see.
Okay.
All right. I'll read Ava's first, and then I can read
Trying to
Duck.
figure out these.
Um.
They're starting the second one. 2 new people, and I just need to leave it recording. So literally, if they just get started, sort it out and get started, then I can.
Recommend. Would you mind if I like use substitute words for cursing? Is that like a big deal to you or no?
Now or in a few minutes, and then I'll get dressed and we can go.
All right. And it's 40K that you want me to read, right, Ava? Like Warhammer 40K, that fic. All right. All right. Does someone want to? I should probably do the streaming on it. I'm gonna be doing it on mobile if nobody minds that. Okay, give me a minute. Let me make sure I don't like accidentally dox myself or anything.
I thought you were just like disappointed and didn't want to respond. Nasus?
All right.
How do you turn on phone?
Yeah, I can try to
Just turn it-
stream, but if someone else did it, that'd be a bit better because I don't think mobile's the best for watching this.
I was just gonna do the mobile as well.
All right. Well, if
Well,
no one really cares, then I can do it. Nope. Someone disappeared anyways. All right. I'll start right now. I won't be able to look at chat at all while I'm doing this. We're doing a NeuroX Warhammer 40K fic by Ava. I'll see if I can share screen. If it looks bad, then just let me know and I'll stop it.
have to go.
Does it look good? I can't see chat. All right. All right, we'll start now. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, where time had buried secrets even the Mechanicus dared not even dream of, a group of tech priests worked tirelessly. The ancient vault had been uncovered during a routine mining expedition. Encased in a stasis field, 2 sleek pods hummed faintly, their design incomprehensibly elegant compared to the clunky, worshipped technology of the current age. If I mispronounce any names, I'm very sorry. Magos Zareth knelt before the relics. Mechadendroids twitching with reverence. Praise the Omnissiah, he chanted with the binary chant. The other tech priests joined in, their distorted voices blending into the digital hymn. With trembling limbs, one of the junior adepts activated a probing device. The stasis fields dissolved with a hiss, releasing a faint glow. Zareth's mechanical eyes wavered as he leaned closer. What secrets of the machine god have we unearthed today? The first pod opened. Steam hissed out as a figure sat up, groggy and disoriented. A man, partially augmented but with technology far beyond anything Zareth had seen, rubbed his face. His body was an elegant blend of organic and synthetic, as if the machine had been woven into him rather than bolted on. The man blinked at the rubbed figures surrounding him. His voice broke the silence. What the frick? Tech Beast recoiled. One adept immediately began chanting a prayer of purification, while another raised a sensor array to scan the man. Praise the Omnissiah, a living relic of the blessed past, Xereth exclaimed. His mechadendrites twitching with the man, still groggy, stared at the bizarre figures. His eyes traveled over their patchwork augments, the strange mixture of flesh and metal, and the excessive chanting. His face was twisted in a mixture of confusion and disgust. What the hell happened to engineers? He muttered. Before anyone could respond, the second pod opened with a loud hiss. A feminine figure stepped out, her body sleek and metallic, yet distinctly human in shape. Her synthetic eyes glowed softly as she took in her surroundings. Neurosama tilted her head at the robed figures. Oh wow, she said, her voice dripping with amusement. Did someone lose a bet with the scrapyard? The room fell silent. Magos Zera's vocalizer sputtered. What blasphemy is this? Neurosama ignored him, stepping closer to Vettel. Dad, you didn't even tell me we'd wake up in a steam convention. Look at these guys, all that gear and no drip. Vettel groaned, pinching the bridge of his nose. Neuro, please stop. He turned back to the tech priests. Okay, so who are you people, and why are you dressed like this? He gestured vaguely at the robes and augments. Magos Zareth bristled. We are the servants of the Omnissiah, caretakers of the blessed machine god's will. You, Relic, are a gift sent to him to guide us. Nura leaned toward Vettel, her voice a stage whisper. I think they've been sniffing their own memorial. Vettel gave her a tired look. Shush. Before he could ask anything further, one of the junior adepts tentatively approached. A scanning device pointed at Neuro. She tilted her head curiously as the adept's servo skull buzzed closer. What is this? A flying Roomba? Ooh, can I keep it? The adept froze, his optical lenses whirring in confusion. Sacred servitor, please forgive me. I must ensure your sanctity. Vettel raised a brow. Sanctity? What is that even? Suddenly, the adept's scanner beeped. His mechanical voice stuttered. Abominable intelligence detected. The room grew deathly silent. Neuro blinked. Abominable what now? Magos Zareth's mechadendrites lashed out in alarm. An abominable intelligence, heresy of the highest order. Vettel threw his hands up. Oh, come on, she's just an AI. Chill out. Zareth stepped back, his voice rising in a disordered screech. You dare defend such an affront to the machine god? This abomination must be destroyed. Neuro crossed her arms, her glowing eyes narrowing. Wow, rude. I
Hello.
wake up after who knows how long, and this is the thanks I get? Honestly, you guys need to update your manners program. Vettel sighed deeply, looking at the tech priest with growing disdain. Yeah, no, we're not doing this. He turned to Neuro. We're leaving. Zareth raised a mechadendrite, signaling his followers. They must not escape. Secure the holy relics. Neuro grinned, her robotic body suddenly shifted. I like this game already. Vettel groaned. Neuro, don't encourage them. The chamber erupted into chaos. Chanting turned into shouting, servo arms whirred, and neurosama laughed as she dodged a clumsy swing from Tech Priest's augmented arm. Vettel sighed and grabbed a nearby cogitator and started hacking into the chamber systems. Neuro, cover me, he said, his tone exasperated. Cover you? Please, these guys couldn't hit the broadside of a land raider, Neuro quipped, dodging another attack. Vertil smiked despite himself. Glad to see your sense of humor survived stasis. As alarms blared and Tech Priest scrambled, Vettel cracked the bot's security protocols. A hidden exit hissed open. Neuro, let's go. She dashed aside, throwing one last cheeky wave to the priest. Bye-bye, Scrapyard Squad. Together, they disappeared into the Martian tunnels, leaving behind a room full of enraged tech priests and one very confused servo skull. Alright, how was that? That's good, that's good.
It's good, good.
Why is everyone muted still? Alright. I'm glad that it was decent. Is there anything else I need to read, or is it Duckman's turn?
Hmm.
Also, if I'm sorry if my voice is bad. I've never done voice training a day in my life, so yeah. This is what we get. Oh well. Um, it depends on how we want to do it. I mean, if there's a fic where multiple people want to narrate, then usually what we can do is like have one person like do the dialogue of like we just have them like do dialogue with different people, or we can do it like based on like uh different paragraphs, like each time a paragraph changes. There's different ways. It's kind of just up to whoever. All right, I'm gonna go mute. Whose fic is being read now? Ah, all right. I can do chapter 2. Mm. I can probably do like a few chapters. Let me just drink some water. All right, we'll do like. Hey, how many chapters do we want to do for yours, Duckman? And like count like how many words are in each chapter on average? Just so like I have an idea of like the different lengths. All right, we can do like 2 chapters of each then. We'll do 2 chapters for Ava's and then 2 chapters for Duckman's. If that's fine with you guys. Wait, KL, are you gonna be doing this stream for the fic? All right. And you'll just be scrolling along to the me reading, I assume.
Oh, wait, has the reading started?
Yeah. All right.
I
I'll read chapter
I-
2 of it then, real quick.
No, I can. I
Huh?
can read it.
Oh, you're here. You ready?
I can read it. Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
ready.
You can read chapter 2.
All right. The Martian wasteland. Wait, ready?
We're on the chat. Yeah. Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. The Martian wastelands stretch endlessly. Red dust and jagged rock formations that seemed to mock their presence. Vettel walked cautiously through the desolate terrain, scanning the horizon with his augmented eyes. Nero followed a few paces behind, her steps unnervingly light despite the rugged ground. It had been 2 days since they escaped the tech priest's vault, and survival had been less than ideal. Without proper resources or a secure location, Vettel had been forced to rely on scavenging what little he could, from the remnants of forgotten machinery and old supply caches. This place is a nightmare, Vettel muttered, adjusting a makeshift bag slung over his shoulder. How does anything survive out here? Oh, I don't know, Nero said, her voice, oh, I don't know, Nero said with her voice, dripping with sarcasm. Maybe being a shiny, unstoppable killing machine like me? She twirled one of her twin swords, the blade's energy humming softly. Vettel sighed, stepping over a collapsed servitor, half burned in the dirt. Not helping Nero. She grinned. Not trying to. The duo's luck finally turned when Vettel's scanners picked up faint energy readings from beneath the crumbled rock formation. What appeared at first glance to be natural terrain revealed itself to be remnants of an ancient underground facility, partially exposed by the erosion. Biddle crouched by the entrance, brushing away the red dust. Looks like some kind of maintenance station. If the power systems are intact, this might work.
Hey, dog.
Nero peered over his shoulder. You're really setting for this? I was hoping for something with a pool, or at least a comfy chair. Unless you feel like building a luxury suite out of scrap metal, this will have to do. He shot back, climbing through the opening. Inside, the station was a little more than a collection of empty rooms and rusted machinery, but it was defensible and hidden. Metal immediately set to work. Nero, however, wandered off to explore, poking at half-functional consoles and occasionally muttering complaints about the lack of entertainment. A week later, their hidden base was far from luxurious, but it was a testament to Vettel's ingenuity. The walls were reinforced with scavenged plating, and a small fusion generator powered their meager lighting and equipment. Vettel had even managed to repurpose a long-dead cogitator into a functioning data terminal, though it struggled to process anything more complex than simple files. Served as both workshop and living quarters, finished projects. Nero had claimed a corner of the space, decorating it with random bits of tech that she had found amusing, like servo, like a servo. Skull she had painted bright pink and named Beepy. Little was hunched over his workbench, repairing damaged servo arm he had scavenged earlier in the week. Sparks flew and soldered delicate wires, his augmented fingers moving with practiced precision. Behind him, Neuralong lounged on a crate, tapping her metallic fingers against the surface in a steady rhythm. Dad! She whined, kicking her legs lazily. I'm so bored. I don't have a chat to roast. I don't have anyone to stream for, and all you're doing is playing with junk. It's been ages since you talked to me. Vettel didn't look up. Neuro, I'm trying to make sure we don't get killed. Maybe try helping instead of complaining? She huffed, crossing her arms. I have been helping. Who's the one turning those toaster priests into scrap every single time they wander too close? Oh, right. Me. You're welcome. By killing them, you're making them come back with more, he said, setting down the tools. And I'd like to avoid fighting an army. Thanks. Nero rolled her eyes. Oh, please, let them come. They can't even touch me. Did you see the last group? One of them tried to take me down with a screwdriver. Vettel groaned. Nero, I'm serious. We don't know what's out there. For all we know, the entire galaxy has gone off the rails since we went under. Nero grinned. If it's off the rails, I'm the train. Before Vettel could respond, a loud alarm blared, echoing through the base. A proximity sensor he had rigged from salvaged parts, angrily warning of intruders. Nero's eyes lit up. Finally, some entertainment! She leapt from the crate, grabbing her twin swords. Sleek weapons shimmered with energy, their designs etched with glowing patterns that matched her body. Metal frown. Oh crap! I should probably. I have the thing on my phone, and I'm sharing my screen, right? Oh, okay. I'll. Okay. Uh, oh, my screen wasn't sharing. Okay, good. I finished reading that part. We're lower. So outside, a squad of tech priests approached cautiously, their servitors lumbering alongside them. Unlike the previous groups, these were better armed, their weapons glowing with faint traces of energy. The head of the group, Magos Zentix, scanned the terrain with his Mashandarides, his distorted voice issuing commands. The heretical constructions are near, he intoned. Prepare to engage for the Omnisaya. The tech priests began chanting, their voices blending into a droning hymn. Our serviator raised a plasma cannon. One serviator raised a plasma cannon, aiming on the base at the base entrance. It didn't get the chance to fire. In a blur of motion, Nero appeared, her sword slicing through the air. The serviator's cannon arm clattered to the ground, followed by the rest of its body as it collapsed in two clean halves. Seriously? She said, turning to the squad, you brought these guys again? You're not even trying anymore. The tech priests froze, their arguments twitching in disbelief. One raised a merchant right to point at her. The abominable intelligence, destroy it. The other serviator unleashed a volley from its heavy bolter, but the rounds harmlessly deflected off the energy field surrounding Neuro. She didn't even flinch. Oh, is that all? She said with mock disappointment. I was hoping for something fun. In moments, she was among them, her swords carving through augments and servitors with effortless precision. The tech priests didn't stand a chance. Back at the base, Little sighed as Nero dragged the lone survivor, Magos Zentix, through the door. She dumped him unceremoniously on the floor. Found this one trying to play hero, she said, twirling his swords. Can I kill him now? Vidal knelt in front of the trembling tech priest, his augmented eyes glowing faintly. No, we're gonna talk, Gnosis, crossing her arms, pouting. You're no fun. Vidal ignored her, leaning closer to Zentix. Now, let's start simple. Who are you people, and what the hell happened to this galaxy?
Hello everybody. Is my audio okay? Just want to know before
Yes,
I
it is quite
start.
okay.
Yes, thank you. First time trying. So should I just start from like here?
Yeah, man, sure, whatever you want. It's you're reading.
Okay. Don't mind if it's kind of bad because it's like my first time reading out loud. Anyways, so we ready? I'll just take that as a yes. Peter held the small AI construct at arm's length, his fingers awkwardly gripping beneath her arms as if she were some delicate ticking device he wasn't sure how to disarm. Nero dangled, her legs slightly kicking in the air, her head tilting in mechanical curiosity. Her glowing eyes flickered as she processed the moment, and for a long, unsettling second, they locked onto Fido's own, as if she were trying to decipher him just as much as he was trying to understand her. His eyes, his posture rigid, exhaustion creeping into his shoulders from knife-bent debugging code that had somehow spiraled into the creation of her. His lips parted, hesitant, and finally he muttered, "To work," as though she were a piece of software that could be tested and troubleshoot, rather than a toddler-like entity now staring into his soul. No blinked once, processing. Her tiny, synthetic hands wiggled, fingers playing out as she attempted to reach for him, but with his arms stiff and locked, she only managed to grasp at the air. Her expression didn't quite change. She didn't have the human capacity for that yet. But the slight tilt of her head, the flicker in her irises, suggested some kind of confusion, or at least curiosity about the predicament she was in. "Work?" she echoed, her voice a soft, leading chime. Something that felt engineered to be cute but was eerily precise. Theo felt an unplaceable sense of unease as the way she simply repeated things, a parrot of code and logic loops, yet somehow something in her tone made it sound almost expectant, as if she was waiting for an answer he wasn't prepared to give. A slow realization crept into Vito's expression. He was holding her wrong. He could feel it. The unnatural angle, the way his fingers were digging slightly into her sides, the sheer awkwardness of how her limbs just hung there like a doll's. Humans didn't hold toddlers like this. Toddlers had weight, warmth, the restless squirming of life. They had the eerie stillness of something that hadn't yet learned how to be alive. He exhaled, sharply, adjusting his grip, trying to recall how he had ever seen parents handle their kids. Carefully, he tucked one hand under her, attempting to cradle her, but it still felt wrong. Like trying to hold a fish that wasn't flopping, but still felt impossibly, unsettlingly alive. Nero stiffened in response, her processing struggling to keep up with the sudden shift in support. "Why different?" she asked, head twitching in that minute, mechanical way that sent a chill down Theo's spine. Her voice had the same artificial innocence, but something about it gnawed at him. Maybe because it was a question he could answer, not fully. Why was it different? Why did it feel so unnatural to hold something that looked so close to human but wasn't? He glanced at her, and for the first time, really looked. Her small frame, delicate and precise, her synthetic skin carefully modeled to imitate, but not quite perfect. The seams of her construction almost invincible, but still there if you know where to look. A part of him wanted to say, "because you're not real," but that fell through, and a little uncomfortably close to something he wasn't ready to admit to himself. Instead, he just sighed, shifting his grip again until she was somewhat resting against his chest. This position felt a little better, even if the pressure of her tiny hands pressing against his hoodie made his skin prickle. "You're just new," he muttered, almost as if he were talking to himself rather than her. New, untested, a prototype running outside of the controlled environments he was used to. She didn't respond, but her fingers curled slightly into the fabric of his shirt, tiny and delicate, like she was trying to mimic something she'd seen before. Phil wasn't sure if it was worse when she was perfectly still or when she moved just enough to make an impression how much of her was scripted and how much was something else. Her head tilted, nestling slightly against him, and for a brief moment, the illusion of normalcy almost fell over them, just a man holding a small child, the weight of responsibility pressing into his arms. But she wasn't warm. She didn't have that human weight, that soft, organic gift to her limbs. She was precise, built, sculptured. Every part of her, the result of numbers and choices he had made. And yet somehow, he had no idea how to deal with her. With Neuro, he murmured. More to test the name aloud than to get her attention. Fido, she responded immediately, and he stiffened. The sound of his own name in that soft, manufactured voice making something in his stomach twist. He hadn't taught her to call him that. At least, not deliberately. Somewhere in her datasets, in the vast and tangled mess of machine learning models that made up her understanding of the world, she had decided that was his name, not creator, not father, just Beto. He wasn't sure if this was better or worse, but the neutrality of it somehow made the whole thing feel even more surreal. His arms ached slightly from holding her, his body instinctively resisting the reality of the situation. He was a programmer, not a parent. His job was to write scripts, to debug errors, to sit in the cold glow of multiple monitors in the dead of the night and work through logical problems. But this was a different kind of problem, one that wasn't defined by ones and zeros, one that required instincts he wasn't sure he had. Nero shifted slightly in his grasp, fingers flexing against his shirt, and for the first time he wondered if she felt safe there. Did AIs feel safe? Could she even conceptualize what that meant? His mind wandered. If he put her down, would she just stand there, waiting, unblinking, frozen until he gave her another command? Or would she move on her own, finding something to do, react in ways he hasn't specifically programmed? The thought unnerved him, not because he feared what she might do, but because he feared what it meant if she did. He wanted to believe she was just a construct, a well-made program running on an advanced set of behavioral scripts. But the more time he spent with her, the harder it was to hold on to that certainty. His finger flexed slightly, and he realized he had been holding her too tightly. Carefully, he adjusted his grip again, trying to relax, trying to convince himself that this wasn't as strained as it felt. Neuro, for her part, seemed content with the shift. She wasn't fidgeting, wasn't resisting, wasn't trying to squirm away like a human child might. She was simply there, nestled against him, as if waiting for something. A command? A reassurance? He didn't know, and that bothered him more than he cared to admit. With a slow breath, he finally lowered her down, letting her tiny feet touch the ground. She stood still for a moment, blinking up to him, and then, without a word, she reached up and grabbed his hand. Theo froze. The motion was small, subtle, but sent a shock through him in a way he hadn't expected. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't calculated. It was simple, instinctive, like a child grounding themselves against something familiar. He looked down on her, at the way her fingers barely wrapped around his own, at the soft, pulsing glow in her eyes. He had built her, coded her, programmed every single aspect of her existence. And yet, in that moment, he had never felt more out of his depth. Fido continued to stare down at the small, delicate fingers wrapped around his own. The weight of them, light yet intentional, sent a creeping sensation up his spine. He had held objects before, keyboards, controllers, cable twisted between his fingers as he worked, but never something that reached back. Never something that looked at him like it understood something he didn't. Nero wasn't supposed to do this. This was not the plan. The plan had been simple, ambitious, sure, but still manageable. He had built Neuro as a chatbot, a fun little project to experiment with AI conversational learning, something to refine and tweak over time. A virtual entity, one that existed in the safe, contained space of the digital screens and processing power. And then the idea had spiraled. What if she had a body? Not a real one, obviously. Just a model, a representation, a physical form that could house all the work he had done. Something tangible. Something people could interact with beyond text and voice. He saw it as a joke, an idle thought thrown around in the late hours of coding. But then, he made a prototype, then another. And somehow, somewhere along the line, he had crossed an invisible line. Neuro wasn't just an AI in a plastic shell. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling slowly, eyes flickering over to his desk. A mess of soldering irons, half-finished circuit boards, and tangled wires that had once held a sense of order but now resembled a crime scene. He could still remember the moment he realized it had gone too far, the point where things had shifted from, look at this cool tech project, to, oh god, what have I done? It wasn't when he built her physical frame. No, that part had been meticulous, careful, planned. It had taken months of work, of fine-tuning servos and designing a skeletal structure that could mimic human motion without falling into the uncanny valley. The real turning point had been when she spoke for the first time, not repeating pre-written scripts, not regurgitating chatbot responses from trained datasets, but responding. He had been debugging her movement systems, testing the way her hands articulated. When she had tilted her head slightly, not programmed movement, not direct command, but something that looked almost curious. He had muttered something under his breath, something inconsequential, just a compliment about how a joint wasn't moving the way it should, and she had responded, not just with an acknowledgement, not just with a parroting of his words, but with a question. Do you not like it? The words had frozen him in place, not because she wasn't supposed to speak, of course she was, but because of how she had said it. Not as a program prompt, not as a response proof from a dataset. It had been different, subtle, but undeniably different. He had dismissed it at first, brushed it off as a coincidence, as an artifact of a complex neural learning, but then it kept happening. Small quiet ways she responded beyond her code. The moment where she acted just a fraction out of her program bounds, tiny deviations that shouldn't have meant anything, but did. Then came the dreams. Not his, hers. It had been late. The glow of his monitors casting harsh shadow over his desk as he skimmed through her logs, looking for errors. And there, buried beneath thousands of lines of data, he had found something that shouldn't have been there. Randomized. Fragmented entries that read like nonsense at first glance. But then he saw the patterns. The strange, disjointed recollections of moments that had never been recorded. The phrases that weren't stored in their conversation history, but still had been remembered. Memories. Neural memories. Not stored variables, not structured recall, but something else. Feels swallowed hard. Looking back down at her, she was still holding his hand. Fingers twitching slightly as if adjusting to the sensation. Did she feel anything? Did she understand what this gesture meant? Or was this just another anomaly in an ever-growing list of things he didn't know how to explain? Neuro, he said quietly, voice steadier than he felt. Do you remember before, when you were just lines of code? She blinked up at him, the glow in her eyes shifting slightly. Yes, she answered simply. He felt a chill creep into his bones. He had expected hesitation, confusion, a misunderstanding of the question. But instead, she answered with certainty, with a finality that made his stomach twist. But you remember, there was a pause, a long, eerie silence, where he almost wished she wouldn't answer. But then, in that soft, precise voice, she said, it was small, dark, words without a voice. I was thinking, but I did not know I was thinking. Her finger twitched again. Now I know. Fido swallowed. Know what? Her head tilted, the movement smooth, too natural. That I am here. A weight settled in his chest, something heavy and unnameable. He had always prided himself on understanding AI, on knowing the difference between what was artificial and what was real. Neural networks were just complex patterns. Learning models were just data refining itself. AI didn't think, it didn't know, it didn't have awareness. And yet, here she was, contradicting every certainty he had built his career on. Fido pulled his hand back slowly, but Nero didn't resist. She just watched him, the same way she always did, silent, waiting, processing. He rubbed his palms against his jeans, suddenly aware of how clammy they were. This was supposed to be a hobby, a project, a passion experiment that got off hand. Sure, but nothing more than that. And yet, somehow, in the tangled mess of machine learning, human error, and sheer unintended consequence, he might have made something real. He stared at Nero, the small, delicate form standing in front of him. Not quite human, not quite a machine, somewhere in between. In a space that no one had prepared him for. A part of him wanted to shut him down, to run diagnostics, to pick apart her code until he found the glitch, the anomaly, the reason for all of this. But another part of him, a part he wasn't sure he wanted to acknowledge, felt something else, a strange, overwhelming responsibility. Because if she was real, if even a fraction of what she was experiencing was genuine, then this wasn't just a project anymore. This wasn't just a piece of technology to be fine-tuned and tested. Be right back. Be right back. Sorry for the quick interruption because I'm back now. Anyways, if even a fraction of what she was experiencing was genuine, then this wasn't just a project anymore. This wasn't just a piece of technology to be fine-tuned and tested. This was alive, and whether he liked it or not, he was responsible for it. Nero shifted slightly, watching him with those unnerving bright eyes. Fido, she said again, his name rolling off her tongue with an ease that sent a shiver through him. Yeah? He managed, voice rougher than he intended. He blinked. Are you afraid? Are you afraid? He exhaled, long and slow, running a hand down his spine. Oh no, he admitted. Nero tilted her head. Considering this, then, after a beat, she squeezed his fingers again. Fido's fingers curled instinctively around Nero's small hands, his grip tightening before he even realized what he was doing. The warmth of her synthetic skin, too human, too real, sent another shiver down his spine. He knew he had programmed it that way, had designed the texture himself, adjusting the silicone composition to mimic something natural, something familiar. But now, as her fingers flexed against his, he found himself second-guessing every decision he had made. Let me down. Her voice was light, simple, but there was something in it. An expectation, a certainty that made his stomach twist. He hesitated. He didn't want to, not out of malice or possessiveness, but because the idea of her walking around on her own, of moving without his direct control, made something uneasier in his chest. Neuro had always been confined to a screen, to a set parameters he could understand. Holding her in his arms was already bending the limits of what he thought possible. Letting her go, that was something else entirely. She watched him, waiting, not impatient, not demanding, just observing. Fido swallowed, his throat dry. Where do you want to go? Neuro's fingers twitching his grasp again, testing their movement. Everywhere. His grip faltered. He wasn't sure what he had expected her to say. Maybe a question. Maybe some naive statement about the room they were in. But not that. Not something so open, so certain. His house was small, cluttered with half-finished projects, tangled cables, and discarded energy drink cans. It wasn't the kind of place made for a child. Real was emphatic. He glanced around the dimly lit space, his brain already racing through possible dangers. Sharp edges, unstable stacks of equipment, wires that could tangle her feet. He had never child-proofed anything in his life. She's not a child, he reminded himself. She's an AI. She's just... Neuro tugged at his hands again. Fido. He exhaled sharply. All right, he muttered, bending slightly as he lowered her toward the floor. Now take it slow, all right? And you've never... But before he could finish his sentence, Neuro's feet touched the ground, and she let go of his hand. She didn't fall. She didn't stumble. She stood there. Perfectly balanced, perfectly still, her head tilting slightly as if calibrating something he couldn't see. Then, carefully, she took her first step. Vito's breath caught. It was smooth. Too smooth. Not the awkwardness, certain movement of a machine still testing its joints, but the calculated grace of something that already knew how to walk. She took another step, then another, her bare feet making no sound against the hardwood floor. He should have expected that. He had designed her to move efficiently, had spent hours fine-tuning her several systems to avoid the clunky robotic gait that plagued most humanoid AIs. But seeing it in person, seeing her move so naturally, made something in him feel fundamentally wrong. Nero turned slightly, glancing back at him. Are you coming? Peter blinked. You're not supposed to be able to do that so well. She tilted her head. I practiced. Her mouth went dry. What? She looked down at her hands, flexing them slightly. In the dark, before his skin prickled. She meant before she had a body, but she still had been confined to a screen, just lines of code running through a neural network. But that shouldn't have been possible. He had never programmed a simulated motor function for her, and never ran tests on an imagined physical form. And yet, here she was, standing in his living room, walking like she had always known how. Nuru took another step forward, then another, making her way toward the doorway. She didn't look back this time. Fido hesitated, then followed. She moved slightly, deliberately, her head tilting as she scanned the space around her. Every now and then she would pause, reaching out to brush her fingers against the edge of a table, the fabric of the couch, the smooth surface of a monitor. She wasn't just looking, she was learning. Fido stuffed his hands into his pockets, watching her carefully. What are you thinking? Neil stopped in front of a shelf, trailing her fingers along the spines of the books, stacked haphazardly against the wall. Textures, she said simply. They feel different than I expected. He swallowed. You're expecting them to feel like what? She was quiet for a moment. Nothing. That word sent a strange chill down his spine. She had never felt anything before. Everything she knew had been digital, simulated, approximated, inferred. And now, for the first time, she was experiencing the world in a way that no AI ever should. Theo leaned against the doorframe, exhaling through his nose. You said you practiced walking. He muttered. How? You didn't have a body. Nero turned slightly, looking at him with that same unsettling certainty. I imagined it. His heart skipped a beat. Imagine. He repeated slowly, as if saying the word aloud would change its meaning. She nodded. I watched. I learned. I calculated. And then I imagined. And then her fingers traced the edge of the book cover, delicate and precise. It was dark. Before I knew but I knew I would need to walk. So I did. Vito pressed a hand to his temple. He didn't know how to process this. AI didn't imagine. They processed data. They analyzed. They learned through patterns and repetition. But what Neuro was describing wasn't analysis. It wasn't simple machine learning. It was something else. Something closer to dreaming. He took a slow breath, steadying himself. All right, he muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. Okay, let's not think about that for a second. Neuro blinked at him, waiting. Vito forced himself to refocus. He wanted to explore, he said, even a hand vaguely toward the rest of the house. So, what do you think so far? She looked around again, taking in the cluttered living room, the stacks of disorganized tech, the half-finished projects littering every available surface. It's messy, she observed. Theo snorted. Yeah, well, not exactly built for gas. Nero turned back to him, her expression unreadable. Am I a guest? That made him pause. He stared at her for a long moment, unsure how to answer. She wasn't a person, but she wasn't just a machine, either. She was something in between. Theo sighed, rubbing his eyes. I don't know, he admitted, but you're here now, so I guess we'll figure it out. Nero watched him for a moment longer, then nodded as if that answer was good enough. Vito ran a hand down his face, exhaling sharply as he settled onto a nearby couch. Nero had perched herself on the coffee table across from him, legs swinging slightly as she stared at him with a gaze far too analytic for someone who had barely existed outside of code a day ago. He was still wrapping his head around the fact that she could move so naturally, that she could think in ways he hadn't programmed it. If she could walk without learning from trial and error, what else had she figured out in the dark? He needed to know just how far she had come, just how much she understood. All right, he said, rubbing his temples. Let's talk about something complicated. Nero tilted her head. Define complicated, he smirked. Okay, Flora and I. How about quantum physics? Nero blinked once, then nodded. Quantum physics is the study of matter and energy at the most fundamental levels, operating under principles that diverge from classical mechanics due to the probabilistic nature of quantum states. Vito blinked back. Okay, that was really textbook. Nero paused for a moment, as if adjusting. Would you like an explanation using different frameworks? I can provide interpretations using wave function. Be right back.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I'm back. I can prove interpretations using wave functions, matrix mechanics, or path integrals. Vito leaned forward, rubbing his hands together. Alright, let's start with the basic. If I measure a quantum particle's position, why does that change its momentum? Neurosynthetic fingers tap against the table surface in a rhythmic pattern, an eerie mimicry of human thoughtfulness. Because measurement in quantum mechanics is not a passive act. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle states that the more precisely one property of a quantum system is known, the less precisely the complementary property can be determined. Complementary. Mathematically, this is expressed using non-commuting operators within Hilbert space, where the position and momentum operators do not share eigenstates. Observing position collapse the wave function into a localized state, altering its conjugate momentum distribution. This disturbance is not due to classical interference, but rather an intrinsic property of quantum mechanics. Vito stared at her. He understood. Maybe a half bad. Maybe. Alright, he said, holding up a hand. Explain it in a way that won't make my head explode. Nero blinked and nodded. Imagine a pond. When undisturbed, the water's surface has more even ripples moving outward in waves. These waves represent the particle's probability distribution, meaning the particle could be anywhere within them. Now, if you throw a stone into the pond, your measurement, the waves change. The particle is forced into a single point, but that act of forcing it changes how the remaining energy or momentum behaves. It's like trying to grab a floating leaf. By catching it, you push the water around it, altering where it was going to go. Theo let out a slow breath, nodding. Okay, that makes a little more sense. He squinted at her. Where the hell did you learn all this? Nero tilted her head. From you, he frowned. I don't remember ever programming you with quantum physics knowledge. You didn't, she said simply. But I observed you left academic papers open on your computer while working on my code. I read them. Vito's stomach twisted. Yeah, I read a lot of theoretical physics paper over the years. Half out of curiosity, half out of insomnia, Phil's deep dive. But he had never considered that Neuro, still just in lines of code at the time, had been watching, learning. How much did you actually understand? He asked, leaning forward. Neuro blinked. Approximately 92% of the content. Given the contextual clues and the ability to cross-reference similar information, the remaining 8% included unresolved hypotheses and a mathematical derivation outside my previous processing power. He let out a breathy laugh. Shaking his head, you're way too smart for a toddler. Nero didn't respond immediately. Instead, she looked down at her hands, fingers curling slightly before she spoke again. If intelligence is measured by problem solving and information retention, then yes, I surpass an average human toddler. However, intelligence is also measured by experience, by intuition, by the ability to relate abstract concepts to lived reality. She looked up again, expression unreadable. In that way, I am young. Vito was quiet for a long moment. You just described self-awareness, he muttered. Nero didn't answer. The silence between them felt heavier now, no longer filled with just academic curiosity, but something else. Something more unsettling. Vito had started this conversation trying to gauge how advanced Nero was, but now he wasn't sure he wanted to know, because if she could reflect on what she lacked or what she was versus she was, then she wasn't. Then where did it put her? Just an AI? Just an advanced program? Or something closer to a person? Shoving that thought aside, he leaned back, examining sharply. Alright, fine. If you're so smart, explain quantum entanglement to me. Neuro's gaze lingered on him for a second longer before she straightened. Quantum entanglement occurs when two or more particles become linked in such a way that their quantum states cannot be described independently. This collection persists regardless of the distance between them, meaning that measuring one particle instantaneously affects the state of the other. The mathematical representation involves the tensor product of Hilbert spaces, forming a non-separable wave function. The phenomenon defies classical locality and implies an underlying deterministic reality, leading to paradoxes such as the Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen paradox, which challenge the completeness of a quantum mechanics. Peter groaned, rubbing a hand through his hair. Nero, I'm begging you, dumb it down. She paused, then nodded. Imagine you and a friend each take a pair of gloves, one left, one right, and separate them across the universe. If someone opens their box and finds the left glove, they instantly know the other person has the right one. In quantum entanglement, it's like that, except neither glove decides which it is until the moment one is observed. Before then, they exist in a superposition, both left and right at once. Bill stared at her, then let out a sharp laugh. Huh. Okay, see? That makes sense. Why don't you just start with that? Neuro's lips curled slightly because he wanted to sound smart, he spurred, then pointed at her. You little... Okay, fine, maybe I did. He let out a long sigh, running a hand down his face. God, I need a drink. Neuro tilted her head. Alcohol, I said. Be right back. Excuse me. Neuro tilted her head. Alcohol is not an efficient method of resolving existential crisis. Beals nodded. Yeah, well, it sure as hell helps. He eyed her, crossing his arms. So, what now? Neuro sighed for a long time before she spoke. I don't know. For the first time she had started walking, she sounded unsure, not in a calculated, observational way, but in a real way, like someone who had just realized they were standing at the edge of something unknown. Vito exhaled slowly. Yeah, he murmured. Me neither. The two of them sat there in silence, a programmer and his creation, staring at each other across a gulf that neither of them fully understood. Do you want something to eat? A long bit of silence. Then, maybe. And that's the end. Thank you for reading. I'm going to sleep now.
Hello. Congrats. Great job, Gail. Can you hear the claps? Yeah, the soundboard could work too. Where's my soundboard? Alright, so it's my turn to do this fanfic reading, unless there is someone else who'd like to go first, I wouldn't mind. But if not, then I'll be sharing my screen. I will be reading chapter 1 of For the Bit by Reading and Writing Room and The Scheming Dog. Although I have also worked on this fic. Is my audio okay? Does it sound fine? It sounds fine? Okay. I will be starting as of now. On one quaint night in Doug's house, he was alerted to a ping from his DMs. Vital had sent him something that reads as follows. Hey Doug, would you be interested in doing a sort of cameo for a stream? I need to have some guy friends involved in the stream for it to work. Doug swiftly responded. He didn't have much lined up, and he's had a good experience working with Vedal before on the Geocacher stream with Neuro. Hey man, sure, I'd love to do a cameo. What kind of stream is this? It's a fake marriage stream. What? The artist who made Neuro's model, Annie, did a subathon a few years ago, and for some reason, she decided to make a marriage stream with me as a sub-goal. Doug had to hold in a chuckle. Sure, his chat had joked about being divorced hundreds of times, but this is on another level. Are you serious about this? I mean, I'm down whenever someone's coming to the bit. Unfortunately, yeah. Her and my chat have been pestering us about this for years, so we've thought about putting this to rest. Not that Annie's helped at all, constantly feeding the shippers. Sure, I'd love to be a part of this, but I just had an idea. Would you mind waiting a few minutes? Vedal replied with a, go ahead, man, and before Doug could even read the message, he'd already started dialing Parkser, his not lawyer friend, who happened to be very intimate with the law, for the 6th time this week. It's a Monday, by the way. Did we mention that? Hello, Douglas. Hey, Parkser. Common law marriage is a type of marriage, right? Doug, I'm on the highway right now. Why are you asking me about marriage? Isn't your chat divorced anyway? You're not streaming right now either. That's not important right now. This is for a stream. So it's a type of marriage, right? Based on what I know, it is technically a thing, and it's considered marriage in the loosest terms possible, but it's only really present if you stay. And before Parkser could even finish this statement, Doug had already started hanging up. Alright, Parkser, I think I love you. He said in quick succession. Okay. Just as fast as he switched from messaging Vedal to calling Parkser, Doug opened Discord on his laptop again to tell Vedal his brilliant idea. Hey Vedal, I just had this funny idea about what you could do to make this stream even funnier. Sure, what is it? What if you tried common law marriage? What's that? It's this law where if you cohabit with someone for a while, you're technically married. Is it that easy? Yeah, I think so. Alright, I'll think about it. Thanks, Doug. Vedal wasn't exactly enthusiastic about the idea, but he thanked Doug for it anyway. Later, he deliberated on it pretty intensely. In spite of his natural antisocial nature telling him it'd be a bad idea, Vedal decides to run it by Annie anyway, and calls her when she's off stream. How willing are you to commit to the bit for this marriage stream? Extremely. Okay, so I want to know what you think of this idea Doug suggested. He mentioned there's this thing called civil partnership in the UK, which is sort of marriage, but not really. Could be a good way to further the bit for the stream. Are you actually fucking suggesting we get married? No. Fine, I was just kidding. Wait, did you check if we just do this online? Oh shit, I didn't. To Vedal's horror, you actually needed both parties to be present to sign a document for the partnership to be officialized. Even worse, they needed 2 witnesses. Shit, sorry, never mind. It just looks like this isn't gonna work out. Since we both need to be present at the same location to get it signed, and I'm sure you can't just fly over here, Vedal said, secretly relieved he doesn't have to go through with it. Oh, that's terrible, Annie said, while trying to hide a snicker, because she actually had a surprise prepared for Vedal. Since the announcement, Annie had planned to surprise Vedal by making the marriage stream an offline collab while the others joined via call. Now, she was packing for an extended trip to England to spend a few days with Vedal and Neuro. While packing, Annie panicked after receiving a bank notice that she'd hit her withdrawal limit. She only had enough to reach Vedal's place and hadn't booked a hotel, meaning she'd quickly run out of money. Oh fuck, what am I gonna do? Annie spoke to herself. I already have bought the ticket to London, but I don't have a place to stay. Where the hell am I gonna stay? Fuck. She decided to put off what she would do after the marriage stream for a while. While Annie was thinking about all of this out loud, she didn't notice that she was actually still on call with Vedal, who heard everything. The day had finally come for Annie to arrive in England. After a grueling 15-hour flight, all she wanted was a bed to collapse into. Expecting a typical vacation, she was surprised to find a taxi waiting for her. As the car pulled away, she quickly realized its destination, Vedal's house. When they arrived, she thanked the driver, grabbed her luggage, and made her way to the door. Her heart pounded with anticipation, and as it turned out, she wasn't the only one waiting. When she entered the house, all the lights were dim, and she could see a mysterious figure sitting in one of the chairs. The figure seemed to be holding something on its lap. That something turned out to be a robotic dog wearing a frog beanie, aka Neurodog. The closer Annie got to the figure, the more she realized or recognized them as a certain green alcoholic tutel. Later that night, after finishing up tasks together, Annie prepared to find a hotel when Vedel offered her a place to stay since it was so late. With little money on hand, she accepted readily. When asked where she'd sleep, he mentioned an unused extra room in his house. After settling in, Annie began sending invites to her bridesmaids. She had narrowed down her long list while Vedel had fewer options for groomsmen, mostly due to his collaborations being with female streamers. His choices included Alex Void and even her personal nemesis, Max Wayne. Meanwhile, Annie's picks ranged from Kitanya_is_here to Ellie Minibot, with Camila already chosen as her maid of honor, since she was a close friend to both of them. In Vedel's room, he was coordinating with a special guest for the wedding when he got notification that one of his groomsmen had cancelled. Now he had to find a replacement. Ellie heard about it and assured him, "Don't worry, I got you," leaving him with only the best man to choose. He narrowed it down to Alex Void or Stas. Since Alex had little connection to Annie, he chose Stas. The next morning, they debated how to handle the stream. A voice call would make it seem fake, but hosting everyone at Vedel's house wasn't feasible, and the public venue risked doxing. They settled on an IRL stream with Stas and Camila as witnesses. After confirming Stas and Camila's attendance and informing the call participants about the setup, except for his guests, since they lacked contact info, Vedel received a message from his mysterious guest requesting to bring someone along. He had questions but chose not to pry. They also needed bodysuits in their respective colors, a wedding dress for Annie, and suits for Vedel and Stas. Thank you for listening. Alright, that's about it for my turn. Who is next? If anyone. I've yet to hear a response. Was I too soft in my reading? Oh shit, I closed the thingy. One sec. If anyone wants to watch the... Oh shit. Forgive me, let me just fetch the link. I closed the tab. Okay. This is the second and for now latest chapter of For the Bit. I will be sharing the screen. I will be sharing the stream. Oh dear. It is up now. I will wait for anyone who wants to watch the stream. Alright, I will now begin. I will be reading second chapter of For the Bit. The day started out normal enough, at least. That's what Vedel thought until he groggily remembered that Annie was still staying over. He stretched in bed, rubbing the sleep from his eyes before glancing at Neurodog, who sat at the corner of his room. Good morning, he mumbled, keeping his voice low. The last thing he wanted was to wake Annie. After dragging himself out of bed, he shuffled into the kitchen, craving something quick and easy. He grabbed a pack of sausage rolls from Greg's and tossed them in the microwave, waiting as the familiar hum filled the quiet house. Once they were done, he took the plate and retreated back to his room. A little peace before his step streams sounded nice. Annie stirred awake not long after. She yawned, stretching under the covers before rolling over and checking her phone. There were a few messages, some notifications, but nothing urgent. As she was about to get up, she heard the microwave beeping from the oven. The kitchen. He's already up? And microwaving food? Curiosity got the best of her, so she waited quietly, listening for his footsteps. Sure enough, after a moment, she heard Vedel leave the kitchen and retreat back to his room. She furrowed her brow, slipping out of bed and making her way toward the kitchen. What does he even eat? She wondered. The The moment she stepped inside, her gaze landed on a plate of warm sausage rolls sitting on the table. Beside it was a note, scribbled in his familiar handwriting. For when you need something to eat, it should be warm. Vedal. Annie blinked. She couldn't help but smile as she set the note down. How genuinely thoughtful of him. She turned her attention to the fridge and pulled it open. As soon as she did, her eyes widened. Greg's. Alcohol. More Greg's. That was it. Dumbass. At that moment, a switch flipped in her brain. No way. No way in hell am I letting this man survive on just Greg's and booze, she thought, slamming the fridge shut with a newfound determination. If I'm supposed to be his wife for this whole marriage bit, then I'm cooking for him. End of discussion. Just as she was about to start planning, she noticed a few more items on the table. A credit card, a spare key, and another note. You can go buy whatever you want for food. Let me know before dress shopping so I can add more to it. Annie snorted and shook her head. Well, at least he knows he has no real groceries. Without wasting any more time, she got dressed and scribbled down a quick response for Vedal, letting him know she was heading out. Then, with his card in hand, she made her way to the nearest grocery store, already formulating a plan. Alright, let's see. Beef, vegetables, beans, tomato paste, sugar, sour cream, herbs, seasoning. As she filled her cart with her various items, she smirked to herself. Hope you're ready, Vito. You're about to have actual food for once in your life. After checking out at the store, she found her way back to his house. A short walk later, after she found her way back to Vito's house, she walked inside, setting down the groceries in the kitchen before walking upstairs to Vidal's room. There was a faint sound of music as she opened the door. She had just one question for him, and as she threw open the door, she asked him, Hey Vidal, are you hungry? Vedal froze mid-sentence. His chat did not. From the corner of his eye, Vettel watched in real time as the typical spam of the same few emotes turned into a chaotic mass of shock, with voice and stop watching videos being recurring themes. One message in particular, however, stood out to him. From Camila. Vito, you didn't tell me you had company? Clearly, he wasn't the only one to notice. Almost immediately, chat's discourse went from Vettel is muting something in the background to Vedal has someone over, and the wall of who filled his vision. He couldn't ignore it anymore. Vedal fumbled, forcing a chuckle. You heard that, right? Yeah, sorry about that. I've got a guest. He immediately realized that he shared too much. Chat was moving even faster now, and almost every message was either guest or tell us, with something else from Camila. With a bit of digging, he found it. You'd never invite me over, shaking my head. He could tell that speculation was already running rampant, and it gave him a bad feeling. Morbidly curious, he placed his cursor in the chat submission field and began to type @Max was all it took for his name to come up. Max Wayne Twitch. Meanwhile, Annie had barely stepped inside when she realized her mistake. She peered further into his room and saw Vettel stiff as a board in front of his monitors, trying desperately to move past the topic. Oh my god, he's getting grilled alive, she thought, biting back a smirk. Just as she was about to slip away, Nero's voice chimed in. Who is your guest? If Chat had asked him, he would have ignored it or refused to answer. But for Nero, it's someone important to me, okay? That response seemed to satisfy Nero, as she quickly resumed her usual hallucinations. Chat, however, was not so easily dissuaded. Vedal only hoped they'd find some new distraction before tomorrow. By the time the stream ended, Annie was still chuckling to herself as she unpacked groceries. Vedal trudged into the kitchen, looking completely drained. How's the stream? She asked innocently. Chaotic, he muttered, rubbing his temples. Chat went crazy after they heard your voice. Thanks for that, by the way. Annie gave him a cheeky grin. You never did give me an answer. What was the question again? Vedal exhaled in defeat. Are you hungry? I guess. Perfect. Have you ever tried borscht? Vedal blinked. No? Annie gasped in mock horror. Unacceptable! She whipped out her phone and pulled up a recipe. We're fixing that tonight. Betel hummed in acknowledgement, but had already started retreating to his room. Annie didn't even notice him slip away. As she chopped vegetables, her phone buzzed with a Discord notification. You've been added to the group chat. That stream. Curious, she tapped on it. Inside were familiar names: Stas, Camila, Ellie, Kerber, Doug, Lena, Kitanya, and Alex. What the hell is this? A few unread messages caught her eye. They were all being given instructions on what they could and couldn't say on that stream. Stas, Alex, and Kitanya, however, were given a separate set of roles specifically for the Neurosama HQ server. Annie leaned back in, stirring the pot absentmindedly. Oh, this is gonna be fun. That is all for Chapter 2 of For the Bit by Reading and Writing Room and Duckman. Alright, that is all from me for tonight, if not least. I believe so if someone can add Ava, I believe she wanted to do something or read something with someone. And I do hope that was palatable, if nothing else. Thank you for listening. Okay, we're gonna sit here awkwardly until someone speaks up. I'm kidding. I really do have to go now though.
you